Hello, hello. Welcome back to the International Women's Day Global Summit. This is our afternoon session now about to kick off. We have some extraordinary ladies in the room here. And my name is Aldwyn Alternay. I will be handing over now to the amazing Melissa Groom, who's organised this whole event with 20 plus speakers today. We're going to be going through till about 4 p.m. Queensland time, 5 p.m. Sydney time. Thank you so much for joining us. And the theme is choose to challenge. What are you choosing to challenge in your personal life or in the community at large? Pop in the comments. We'd love for this to be interactive today. And I'm sure there's going to be amazing discussion happening very shortly. So Melissa, I will hand it over to you now and I will exit and come back a little bit later as you have these amazing ladies to introduce. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you, Aldwyn, and thank you, ladies, for joining me, and to all of our viewers watching the live stream or the replay today. International Women's Day, our International Women's Day Summit, Women Rising, is all about celebrating women's achievements, but also giving those speakers a platform to really share their voice and their message, because just one sentence from any of these incredible speakers today could really change your life. So today on the panel this afternoon, we have Jenny Woolsey, Annette Hurley, and Maria Padarakis. You would have heard Annette Hurley and Maria Padarakis both spoke on our morning session. You can go back and watch the replay if you didn't, and Jenny will be speaking later this afternoon. So first of all, ladies, I'll start with you, Annette. What do you choose to challenge in 2021?
Well, I think overall choosing to challenge yourself, and as I spoke about this morning, choosing to live fearlessly, and that's an ongoing process. And we break free of limits all the time, but there's greater limits to break free of, and that's for everybody. That's a definition of unlimited. So to me, it's always an internal journey, Melissa.
Absolutely. So choose to challenge yourself and overcome those things that hold us back, our limiting beliefs, or our things that keep us from playing small.
Yeah, and playing small, it's for everybody. It doesn't matter where you are. You can be, seemingly the most powerful person on the planet. There'll always be another place to go. And I think it's just knowing that and really enjoying that journey and embracing that journey.
Yes, lovely. And what about you, Jenny? What do you choose to challenge?
Well, I have the mantra, be weirdly wonderful, dare to embrace your disability and your differences. So I choose to challenge as a lady living with a disability. I'm visually impaired. I choose to challenge the world's discrimination and the world's prejudice against people with disabilities. And I am advocating and shining a light on how women, children, men with disabilities are not taken care of within society. They're not given the opportunities that they need to be given. Employment is so low for people with disabilities. And I just want to make a difference in the world.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Jenny. And how about you, Maria? What do you choose to challenge?
There we go, unmute. I choose to challenge my, so at the start of the year, I chose sovereignty as my word for the year, as my task for the year. And as I've delved deeper and deeper into it, it is such a powerful place to be, to have complete mastery over your thoughts, over your actions, over your decisions, over your choices, and to not make excuses. And my choice, this challenge is to actually continue that journey. And it's not by any means something that starts and finishes. I think that, like you said, Annette, every time you get to a certain point, you get to the, okay, I've done that point now, I'm not going to do the next one. And that's why perfectionism is such an illusion, because once you achieve what you thought was perfect, you're always open to growing more, and then that goes to the next level. So I think as women, the more and more sovereign we become as individuals, the more and more we can empower each other to become sovereign as a collective. And I see that happening now. And I just know that when women are shining, and I think I said this earlier, when women are shining, they're always open to allowing other women to shine too, because they know how important that is. Yeah. So I choose to challenge my sovereignty and also to continue to help women to elevate.
Beautiful. Thank you, Maria. And I shared this morning on my talk that I choose to challenge. I will help forge women's equality by speaking my truth. But I also, in the work that I do, I will forge positive visibility of women, which really brings me to the point that I want to bring up about Meghan Markle's interview that she's just done on Oprah, and the negative press and comments that she's got from people all around the world, saying that she's done it for attention, she's done it for the money, she's an actress, so why would we believe her? All these sorts of things. So I just want to go to you, Annette. What are your thoughts around women speaking up, really, and what's come up for you? Whether you watched the interview or not, you would have heard about it. What's your opinion on her coming out and speaking, I guess, against her family, which a lot of people would say is not the right thing to do? What are your thoughts?
For me, it's everybody's individual choice what they do, and if they have a platform to speak, how they use that platform. For me personally, it's about staying in my own lane and also focusing on myself and how I can make a difference. So allowing everybody to have their choice. One of the principles of mastery that I teach is to practice being non-judgmental and to practice allowance, and to allow people to be where they're at. So having an opinion on somebody else is really, it's only an opinion. And if you are indulging in getting into a whole lot of different things that aren't really relative to you, then you're using your energy or leaking energy, which could be used for you to get what you want in life. So the tools out of that would be to practice being non-judgmental and to practice allowance, and also to stay in your own lane and focus on your own life and making a difference.
Great advice. Yes, I love that. You always bring it back, Annette. And yes, to be fair, you know, everybody has a right to speak their truth. And, you know, I think we do get asked a lot about our opinions, and sometimes we can be afraid of sharing our opinions because we could get slammed for that as well. So, you know, just a reflection on her coming out in the press and sharing her truth. For me, I know what it's like to feel ostracized by your family by speaking your truth. And so I sort of looked at the interview and did see comments, and it brought up things for me. I mean, we can't help but be affected by things that we consume, you know, and I want to turn this into a positive, to just say that I actually felt that she had a lot of courage to not feel like she needs approval for anyone to speak her truth. And that, to me, shows a really strong woman who, you know, just stood her ground and did what she thought was right for her and her family. So I just want to ask you, Maria, a lot's been happening with all the rallies that have been going on. And how are you feeling all about that? You've been watching them and making comments on what's happening. And what are your thoughts around all the rallies that have been happening?
Well, for me, it was really quite raw, because I've worked in politics and I was bullied very badly when I did work in politics. So it really brought up a lot of raw emotion around the culture of working in a political environment. And and how damaging it was. And when I left there, I was literally, I thought I had nothing. I had nothing to give to anyone. And it was only after leaving there that I realised how much knowledge, information, skills I'd actually gained, because while I was there I was demoralised every single day about my relevance and my ability and my worth and so on. So it's really whilst I wasn't in a situation where I was sexually assaulted or abused in any way, I was very emotionally abused while I was there. And it's been quite raw for me in that regard. Like many women who come out of something like that, it takes you a while to rebuild. And anyone who comes out of a bullying environment or any kind of abuse environment. So, you know, I look back now and I think about the women that were in those roles that led to quite a few other women being badly treated. And I think they taught me the kind of leader I don't want to be. But at the same time, yes, any kind of ism is bad, whether it's racism, sexism, and any kind of ism, right? And I think that what we need to, one of the things that's really important is that we need to take back our story and our narrative around what happened. They will have theirs and they will have their truth around that story and that narrative and what happened, because we live in different paradigms. I live in mine, they live in theirs. And if I'm to claim my sovereignty, I also need to be respectful enough and courageous enough to say that they own theirs. And also to be in a position where I can say, I see you as someone who suffered pain yourself to be doing what you're doing. Because women don't treat each other like that unless there's something more going on underneath. Because in the end, you're hurting yourself. Women hurting women hurts women. Are we right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Right. So, and so for me, it's coming from that place of compassion and saying, okay, where that's happened, you're suffering, I'm suffering. Let's use this as an opportunity to come together and draw a line in the sand and say what was, and let's move forward with what will be and what we can create now. And I think that with such public information about women who didn't support women in Parliament, which I've seen before, and it's happened across Australia. I wasn't in Canberra. That we as women have that opportunity now, and that we can't demonise women. We can't go there, because then we're just perpetuating it as well.
Yes, thank you. Anything you want to add to that, Jenny?
Well, the one about Meghan Markle, I have, as a person who's been suicidal, that really resonated with me about her authenticity and her rawness, and I salute her for sharing her story with the world, because I know people said they were crocodile tears and all that sort of thing, but that takes a lot of guts to get out there into the world and share, you know, your stories of deep depression. So I'm really thankful for her for doing that. And it is hard when you've got a family who may disagree with your story, because family does see things from a different perspective to what you often see it. They come at it from their own point of view. So that's something else that, you know, people have to deal with as well.
Yes, dealing with family that don't agree with you is definitely very challenging, but that's why we need to come together as women and, you know, form our own family, our own sisterhood. You know, Annette's like a mother figure to me, or a bigger sister that I can go to and know that she's got some life lessons and experiences and wisdom that she can share with me when I'm really struggling. So, yeah, family doesn't always have to be blood, does it?
No, it doesn't. Yeah, Mel, I just also wanted to add to Meghan Markle. She wanted to take over the narrative about her story because others had been telling it. And I can understand completely why she wanted to do what she did. Like her and Harry did what they did. And they did it with someone who was safe for them. It was not about the family. It was about them. And so people will say whatever they will say because they might come from a paradigm of racism or the paradigm of royalism or a paradigm of, oh, they're rich and they have everything. Who are they to talk about it? Or whatever it might be. But they've done it for them. And I think that anytime anyone speaks up and they speak up for themselves, that's a powerful and a courageous thing to do.
Yes. Did you want to add to that, Annette?
Mute. So I was just trying to work out my mute there. Some very powerful comments from everybody here today, and also from what's happening. To shed a little bit more light in my experience of what's happening at the moment is that a lot of that is not of love is coming to the surface. So all of the issues that we see that are coming to the surface, and Jenny, yours around discrimination, and also around sexual and physical abuse and bullying in the workplace. As a career coach, only this week I was working with a lady who'd been bullied and was suicidal. So it's a very, very real issue. What I'd really love for everybody and what I'm passionate about is I would love everybody to know metaphysical mastery. It has given me my life. And when I say the words just fall so short of what the reality is. And that is that we are literally creating our reality. So things may be happening to us, but ultimately, if you want to take the level of responsibility that I teach at and I choose to live at, and sometimes still have challenges doing, is that we're responsible for everything that happens in our world. And if we don't like it, we can change it. But to change it, you need to know what your belief systems are, and you need tools to be able to do it. And that's what metaphysical mastery is. That's what self-mastery is. So women, nobody's doing this to us. We are collectively in our consciousness creating this, individually and collectively. We need to focus on what we do want, not focus on what we don't want, so that we create more of what we do want. So in other words, we don't want to be fighting against stuff because that feeds the energy. What we want to be doing is we want to be saying we want to be inclusive. We want to be more compassionate. We want to use some of the words that have been used in this room today and focus on what we do want. When we focus on the drama, we create more drama. We've got to be really, really careful. Like Alwyn said, there's good news channels out there. We need to be focusing on what we want. And stuff coming to the surface is like a wound that's been healed with a scab, but it's still all infected underneath. It's coming to the surface to be healed. So all of this ugliness that we see is actually a healing process. So to be a powerful force and to be a part of this healing process means that individually, to use your sovereignty word, Maria, individually we need to focus on ourselves, to be unlimited and to live fearlessly and to know about this stuff so that we can go out. It doesn't matter whether you're doing social media, video, media, psychology, whatever it is you're doing, disability, so that each of us out there are enlightened and we know how the universe works and we know how the mind works. And we know that we're unlimited and we have glimpses of that and we live in that space more than others so that we can go out and make the difference that we want. So collectively, if we're going to do it, it's to actually be focusing on what we want rather than what we don't want. And there are powerful women out there who are sharing stories such as being suicidal to make it be okay so that people can talk about it. But then we need to go back and say, what have we got to do in our world? So we're attracting it, everybody. They're not doing it to us. We need to change individually and collectively. That's why we challenge ourselves.
And I really believe that you don't need to be a powerful woman. You don't need to be a celebrity to be known or to make a difference. Like, I like the analogy of you pick up a pebble, you throw it into the pond, and it ripples out. So even people in their everyday life can make a comment, can advocate for something within their workplace or out in their community, and it will impact one person, which will impact another person. Even just a comment about, making the world a better place for each of the things we're into makes a huge difference. So everybody can do it. So it's not just something that, people who are well known can do.
100%.
So Maria, tell us, what does International Women's Day mean to you, and who is a woman that inspires you and why?
Oh, well, International Women's Day to me is an opportunity for us to reflect, to see how far we've come, to see how far we, where we want to go. And is that, what do we want? It's reassessing, what do we want together as a collective? It's creating momentum and energy. And this year, well, it is just really taken off, hasn't it? Which is so exciting. But there have been women who have been really brave for that to happen. And it started with Grace Tame this year. And I don't know how excited the Prime Minister is that she was the Australian of the Year now, but we're excited. And I think that every single woman who's going to stand up over the coming years, and there will be years of it, and there will be people that you know in your own home, in your own neighbourhood, in your school community, who are suddenly going to start saying stuff, who are suddenly going to let you know that they've been through something. And I have a daughter, I have a son. Oh, my daughter is the most incredible young woman, and her mind just grows my heart all the time. But my son is this boy who I am constantly reminding about kindness, and there's this boy energy that I have not expressed or known how to deal with at times as a woman, and as a woman who grew up with women. I mainly grew up with my sisters and my mum, and my dad was always working. So there are challenges for us who are raising the next generation, and we've got to, I'm going off topic, sorry, Mel, but I've just got to say this, be positive influences on both of them and support them both to move forward in how they treat women in the sphere of things. We know the world is a richer place and a better place when in a house there is more equality, there is more respect, there is more acceptance, there is more compassion. So all that's very important. So where do we want to go? This is a changing times, and there is ugliness rising in it. I agree with you completely, because we need contrast to get some clarity sometimes, and that contrast is really showing itself. And one contrast I'd like to talk about, and maybe if we can talk about it later, if not now, is the difference between the Black Lives Matter rallies and how those rallies were treated compared to this one, where there were no policing, there was openness for it, there was support in Parliament, as opposed to our other issue that we have, a major issue in this country, which is racism. And I come from an ethnic background. I grew up in the Northern Territory. I have seen racism firsthand. I have experienced racism, and I just think we need to be real. We can't make one topic which affects women, because racism affects women. It affects the way we treat the judicial system with our First Nations, our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander women, and how they're treated in police custody and in domestic violence services, you know, getting the assistance they need in all sorts of ways. They are facing so much, and this affects them just as much, and we need to come closer together because the two are so aligned for many, many women out there. That's what I want to say. And who inspires me? There are so many women that inspire me. I have to say there's certain qualities that I'll talk about that inspire me. Women who endure, women who stand up and speak their truth, women who make you laugh, women who are strong and compassionate through crisis and through things that people think they should never, ever forgive. They're the women that inspire me. And I'm not even going to name names, but they're the qualities in women that inspire me. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Jenny, who inspires you and why?
That is a tough one. I've had to do a bit of thinking too while Marie was speaking. The first woman who really inspired me, because I live in the disability and difference world, is Turia Pitt. And I have actually been to see Turia, talk about her burn. So if you're unaware, she's an athlete. She was running in Western Australia, was caught in a bushfire and was severely burnt. And I've just watched her strength, her determination, her advocacy work that she does, and the fact that she doesn't care what she looks like in this world of social media, pressure to look a certain way and filtering, and models are held in high esteem. Like, my daughter has my craniofacial syndrome, and she's just had some facial work done as part of that syndrome. And people have said to me, oh, she could be a model. Why? To me, a model is not something that she should be aspiring to. She should be aspiring to something where she can make an influence in the world, in a academic or a, philanthropy or, just some other way, not just for how her face looks. So Turia would be my first. And then in my local community, we have a MP called Nikki Boyd for Labor. And Nikki just does such wonderful work for our community. She's always out there in the school. She's been to my book launches to support me. She's out in the community. She's at the school. She's out advocating for women. And she's just a wonderful role model of a woman who is higher up in the community, is still lovely to talk to. She's kind, she's lovely, she's warm, and she is well respected. Yeah. So there are many women, but that's just two that have come to my mind.
Thank you. And how about you, Annette? Who inspires you and why?
There we go with that mute button again. You inspire me, Mel. The way you actually speak your truth and the way you bring people together, the way you practice mastery and being non-judgmental and inclusive, the way you include people, you don't compete against people, you give everybody a voice. And the way that you've actually spoken up and spoken out and what you stand for. So you're definitely a lady who inspires me, providing this platform for all of us. Without this, maybe one would like to think that between collectively all of us, someone's heard something that will turn their lives around and inspire them to live their dream. And you provided that platform, so thank you.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Annette. That's beautiful. Someone who inspires me greatly every day is my daughter, Grace. And many of my business friends know Grace because I have been tagging her along to a lot of my events over the last 10 years. But she moved out of home in March last year, just before lockdown, to live with her boyfriend at the age of 19. And then only in a matter of weeks, COVID hit, and she rang me saying, "Mum, what am I going to do? I've just lost my job." So I said, "Well, you can always move home." And she's like, "I can't do that, Mum. I'd be a failure, and I don't want to let my flatmates down and my boyfriend." And so she said, "What will I do?" And I said, "Well, darling, you're going to use your brains and you're going to use your skills, and you will just go out there and create opportunities and do whatever it takes." We all had to pivot in 2020. We all had to think differently. We all had to get out of our comfort zones and do things that we had never done before and didn't have any preparation for. So Grace got a camera on Marketplace and started going out and photographing young girls for free. And then in a matter of weeks, she was approached by other photographers, one in particular who had 46,000 followers on Instagram, and asked her, could she photograph her. So now she's got a front big poster on the billboard here at the swimwear shop in Kingscliff. She's done a photo shoot for them. She's just been featured in Vogue Living magazine, and she's getting paid to do photography work for my clients as well as many others. So Grace, she might not be watching this because she's also launched another business in the last month, which is her candle making business. In between working at O Sushi at Coolangatta, she's just a real go-getter and somebody that I actually learn a lot from, because what I really love is that she's grown up with a mother who on the outside might seem like she's very confident and has it all together. But as I shared earlier, that it wasn't until 6 years ago that I actually loved who I was. And so I realized that I had a responsibility not only for myself, but especially to my daughter and my sons, that I needed to take responsibility for where I was at and make a change and seek help so that I could be a better person, a better mom, a better role model for them to reach their full potential. So that's enough from me. I don't want to hog the space, but yeah, I think we've got a lot to learn from our children. They are very inspiring. Alrighty, so where we're at in 2021, what do you think that we can do differently moving forward? Obviously, Annette, you said change our thoughts, but as mums, as parents, what else do you think that we can do differently to forge a more equal world, a more inclusive world for everybody?
Well, one of the things when I teach the Stop Gossip in the Workplace workshops that I do, it's really interesting because everyone else in the organisation thinks everyone else is responsible for the gossiping. But by the end of the workshop, what they realise is that every person, including in the majority of instances, pretty much everyone in the room, is responsible and contributing to the toxicity of the workplace and the culture and the environment. So again, I think it's to take responsibility. And the quote that Olwen said earlier this morning, Mahatma Gandhi, be the change you wish to see in the world. If you want to see the changes, it's to practice it. And it all begins with the way that you think. And then it begins with the way you verbalise. And of course, more powerfully is the actions that you take. So it's what you advocate for, what you stand for, how you spend your time, what your conversations are about, what you endorse, what you watch, the way you behave, all of those different sorts of things. So I think moving forward is to want to have self-mastery, to be masterful and to be the person that you are, that's in your heart. It's all the ego that gets in the way. So it's to master your ego and all those little bits of nastiness that we all can be if we want to be, but choose not to be, and then find the tools and the life tools that serve you to be that person.
Thank you, Annette. And how about you, Maria?
I think that it's time to challenge all stereotypes. about being a woman, and all of them, from being a young woman, being an attractive woman, being a woman of being an overweight woman. There are so many stereotypes about, and growing older, and as well, stereotypes about women growing older, and how our potential runs out, our viability runs out at some stage, according to who? I don't know. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that in any way, shape, or form. So I think that in order for, I remember, God bless her, my mother, who hasn't lived a life that I would describe as following her truth. She said to me once when my daughter was young, she said, "Now, Maria, don't tell her she can do anything and get her hopes up. You don't want her to be disappointed." And I was horrified, because I want her to believe that she has endless potential and that whatever she dreams, she can create. And her journey is going to be so different to mine, and to my mother's, and to my aunties, and to the previous generations. And I'm just so excited for her and the world that she's coming into. But we, as a generations now, the women that exist today, the women who are in their 30s, their 20s, their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, their 70s, their 80s, and their 90s, it's our job to say no more. We're not stereotyping each other. We're not going there anymore. We are embracing one another and our oneness as women, and we are supporting one another to be everything we can be, and that there's no competition, that we all have our own uniqueness and amazingness to bring to the table, and that we need to nurture that in each other. So when I hear about younger women coming into the workforce being bullied by older women, or I hear about younger women coming into the workforce and bullying older women, vice versa, it quite upsets me, because both have so much to contribute. They come from different perspectives and different paradigms and different viewpoints and different skills and different imaginations and different just selfness, like they're themselves. And I just think, oh wow, what a wasted opportunity to just bring out the best in everyone. So that's where I think we're going. I think that we as women need to go, okay, that's what you think, now this is where I'm at. I'm going to completely dissolve those. I'm not even going to say fight, Annette. I don't even believe in fighting either. I think we're going to dissolve these stereotypes into oblivion, because we are, by definition, being different women. I think that's where we're going.
Thank you, Maria. And how about you, Jenny?
Well, I love what both ladies have just said, but diversity is awesome. And in a world that doesn't want people to be diverse, in a world that wants everyone just to fit into a little round hole, we need to be, challenging that, and, and having people in our workplaces and in our schools celebrating the diversity, celebrating the differences, neurodiversity. There's a lot of research with having, people with ASD and the way they think included in teams, because they think such a different way, and it can be such a wonderful contribution. So definitely I'm all for the diversity, and also starting with children. I was a school teacher, and now I go into schools and talk about diversity and difference and disability and bullying, and how to respect people who are different to yourself, and how to talk to someone who has a disability, because children just don't know what to do, and because their parents aren't teaching them. So we need a lot more in the education space as well, starting with our young children, and that they learn to respect all women, well, all people, but it's International Women's Day. So all girls, all women, no matter their, their difference or their uniqueness. And they have to children need to learn that being different is a wonderful thing. it's the best thing about the human race is the diversity, and that, everyone being the same, and social, peer pressure and all those things that happen, particularly in the teenage years, because everyone wants to be the same, is actually not a great thing for the world. So.
Yes, and I hope that we can really just call out when we see something that is not right. I shared before about Grace, losing her job due to the pandemic with her workplace closing down, and she went to do her photography. But when things settled down, she actually went back to that workplace and she continued to work there part-time. But she came to me one day and she said, "Mum, I'm actually being harassed at work." And when she told me what the men at work were saying to her, I wasn't surprised, really. But I said to her, she doesn't need to be working in a place like that where she's being spoken to like that, because if you allow that to happen in your workplace, do you allow that to happen outside your workplace? And so it's really important to set boundaries for yourself. I know for myself, I've had to make some really hard decisions in my life and to set those boundaries for myself. So, she actually wrote a letter of complaint to her manager, and the boys were actually given, the men were given a warning. They weren't dismissed from their workplace, but Grace decided to resign because she said she felt uncomfortable working there. And they actually said to her, "Thank you for being honest and sharing what happened. And, you can come back and work here at any time. We're going to give you a great reference." Now, she was telling that story to another lady that she was doing some photography work for, who is a business owner. And the lady turned to her and said, "That's just boys for you. I grew up in the surf club, and that's just the way boys talk. My daughter tells me that's how they speak to her when she's down at the surf club, but, it's just a boys club." And I was really, thought, well, I'm not going to judge this mum on her advice to her daughter, but I know what felt right for me, and that Grace was not comfortable doing that. And I said to Grace, if she doesn't call out that behavior, it may only be words this time, but next time it could be, the touching, the pinch of the bum, pinch of the boob, and the time after that, then it could be rape, and the time after that, it could be, more violence or death, as we know happens, unfortunately, so much in the world today. Still, 1 woman a week still dies today from domestic violence in Australia alone. So I want to encourage women to call things out when they see them and to speak up. Okay, so, all right, where are we at? Annette, anything you want to add to that?
I think, again, the law of attraction and understanding. So definitely to actually take the appropriate action as far as something's concerned, but look at your belief systems and to understand that you attract your belief systems, whether they're conscious or unconscious. So if you're attracting any behaviour in your life, or if you have a reality that you don't like, to really be masterful is not to blame the other person. In this instance, we're referring to men, and we are a collective. We just happen to be in different bodies. So it's to actually take a level of responsibility. What have I got within me that's attracting that to me? And that can feel like, quite a really big pill to swallow. And that's not to say what the person's doing to you doesn't exist or isn't happening. But if you want to be able to change it, it's to actually want to live your life at the level of responsibility where you are creating your own reality so that you're not attracting that sort of behaviour into your world. So I'd be checking in with my belief systems and going, why did I create this? What within me attracted this behaviour to me? And it doesn't mean that you need to be flirtatious or anything like that. It could be a subconscious thought. But still, as you said, wise advice, always make a stand. but also do that internal work as well. Internal play, not work, play.
Yeah. Well, let's move to a lighter note now. I want to just go to Maria and tell me, Maria, in the last 12 months, because it has been a really challenging year for all of us, what's something that you've achieved in the last 12 months in business that you're really proud of?
Wow. Well, just to give a little bit of context, my family lived on the Gold Coast until September last year, and then the impact of COVID happened for us. My husband's in mining, and he had an overseas job, and that ended not because of COVID, but he was always fly in, fly out. And then all of a sudden there was no fly in, fly out jobs. There was lots of residential positions because there was no fly in, fly out, and the borders were up and down, up and down. So we made a family decision to, after he accepted he was offered a position in a rural community, a small town, we said, let's do it. So we moved to Kingston, New South Wales, only 2,100 people here. We're west of Dubbo on the way. You've got to drive through us to get to Broken Hill to get to South Australia. So beautiful sunsets, lovely nature. As I mentioned earlier, few too many mice for my liking, but we're here and we're embracing it. And of course, the huge pivots that had to happen for all of us, and I not only had to pivot because of COVID, but pivot because I'm now living somewhere else, and thank God I can take my businesses with me. So the two big achievements that happened last year is, one was that my sister Andy Opie and I started a business together where we bring together our skills, her over 20 years in marketing and my over 20 years in psychology, counselling, supporting others, policy, and so on, and running and having my own business as well for the last few years. So bringing all those skills together, and we support businesses to bring together their power principles and to tell stories through their marketing. And we align all their marketing to those power stories, those power principles, from their websites to their online work. It's really exciting. Love doing the work. And it was not something I expected at all to come out of this change in our world, but it came out of it. And I have to say, I love working with my sister. And yes, we do push each other's buttons, but in very, very great ways. And we grow with each other through that process. And then the other thing is, because I'm now out in this rural community, I've been out there talking. And one of the things that became really obvious is that people need support in their workplaces. Yes, Annette, you're going, So I have a future-proofing program, which I work with people in small groups and individually. And I've taken that program and I have turned it into elements of it into a 4-part workshop series for workplaces to support them to build resilience in their staff, but also to align their staff's purpose and their staff's values with that of the organisation. You can imagine now out in these small communities, people might be working in the same organisation for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. How do you keep people engaged, and how do you keep people, interested in what they're doing if they're just coming to work and just doing the job, and they start to lose that excitement and everything else takes over, the gossiping, the politics, and all the rest of it. So the 4-part workshop series, which includes dealing with stress and work environments and alignment of values and missions and purpose, and also setting boundaries as well, which are very important. I'm very excited that that's come together, and it's something now that I'm talking to businesses about and looking forward to starting to share with businesses locally, and then hopefully broader than Kingston and online as well. So that's my exciting things of the year.
Well done. That's great to hear. When we've had, I think anyone who just managed to just get through 2020 is a massive achievement. So anyone watching who thought, I've really just survived, I was feeling like that at one point too before I started working with Annette, I must say. So Jenny, what's something you've achieved that you're really proud of in the last 12 months?
Yes, so I had a really turbulent 12 months. I separated from my husband last July. He became an alcoholic and it was becoming a domestic violence situation. So that was really tough to tell him he had to leave and not come home. Being a woman of low vision and not being able to drive, that's put a lot of extra work for me. I have 3 children who have a range of disabilities, like my youngest daughter has Down syndrome. So a lot of my time last year was in the emotional side leading up to the separation, and then the other side of coping as a single mum with 3 children with high needs and my own disabilities. And he actually passed away 2 weeks ago. So I just had to do I did the funeral for him out of respect. And I do write books. So I'm a children's author. I write junior fiction and YA. So I did manage to publish one story, and I've been included in some anthologies. So I was able to do some work on my writing. And I've also done some more work on my speaking, because that's the main thing I want to get more into. So a lot of just personal work, not really financially, lucrative, but I had to do a lot of personal work, which to me needed to be done, and I'll be able to move forward because of that work I did. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like you've had a really, really challenging year, Jenny. So just sending you lots of love. And I know that we sort of have a bit to do with each other through the Speakers Tribe Queensland. And I'm very passionate about helping you to get your message out there in the world. You're an amazing woman with so much strength and humility. And yeah, my heart just goes out to you and your family and your children. Yeah. And how about you, Annette? What have something that you've achieved in the last 12 months that you're really proud of?
Well, firstly, I can relate to the other 2 ladies. You've done really, really well. So congratulations to do that on top of what's been happening globally, and to come out and be here today and sharing your wisdom with everyone else. It's well done you. For me, my greatest joy always comes from the people that do the mastery program with me, and the people that I support in business, and to see their achievements and to see them grow. And I just get the most tremendous amount of joy when someone really gets something. It's amazing when someone's lifted themselves out of a depression, or they've created what they want, and they've created their dreams, and they're ringing up and they're saying and sharing what they've done. That brings me the greatest joy. From a business perspective, I've been in business for quite a while now, and a lot of what we did during that time was we focused on our internal systems. We chose to go internally and work on a lot of automation and look at the IT systems and the way that we do things, and that's a continuous process, as most people in business would know. And then the other thing too, Ms. Melissa Groom, is to get me out of my office and onto a video and sharing with other people. And I actually have a light that works now, girls. So it was not that I was ever afraid of video. It was more taking the time and setting the time aside. But for me, my passion is, as I shared earlier, is everything that we've spoken about today is basically the problems are people not having mastery skills, and the wins are people having it. So it's actually to get that out. And in this day and age, that's video. So that's one of the things that I did with the support of our dear, gracious visibility mentor. And you see me today, I'm visible.
You surely are doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
What's yours, Melissa?
So for me, in my probably biggest achievement was really an acknowledgement that I got from Sam Cawthorn, who is the founder of the Speakers Institute, who believed in me and what I do. And we were both very aligned with helping to share people's message and story with the world to make a difference. And Sam came to me in December last year and asked me to be a facilitator for the Speakers Institute and speak on how to master video to become an influencer. So from coming from a mum who worked from home and was just looking for a business that she could do online while she raised her children, to then teaching people about video and running my women's networking groups and events for the past 10 years to now really stepping up and going, wow, like this is a massive opportunity, a massive responsibility that I feel. And it's not about me and I'll look at me and how good I am, because I'm just excited for all of the things that I can learn from all of the mentors in the Speakers Institute, the access to all the coaches and other facilitators and Sam himself, and seeing what it's going to do for the other incredible women that I get to work with, who also have got an important message to share with the world, and just to get them over that fear of getting in front of the camera and being able to really make that difference that they were born to make. So yeah, it's that's my biggest achievement in the last 12 months.
Melissa.
And I will say, I also want to say too that I think just being a mother to 6 children, Glenn and I have 6 children together. The triplets are 30 and my children are 19, 20 and 22, nearly 22. So I think we deserve a medal for surviving 2020, with 6 kids, because you've got to look after your own mental health. You've got to look after each other. You've got to be there and support the 6 children and be strong for them. And then you've got to be strong for your clients. And there's no way that I would have been able to do it without Annette. And I know that because I was really struggling myself. And I didn't call her. I must have energetically put it out to the world that, help. And one day she just phoned and she said, how are you doing, Mel? And I just burst into tears. And I remember she asked me to come on to her Monday Mindset that she runs, and I came into a Zoom, it wasn't a Zoom call, but I came onto an online call. There was only one person that I sort of knew, and all the rest were strangers. And Annette was asking us, how are we feeling? How are we coping with what's going on? And I thought, well, I'm not going to lie here. I'm not going to pretend that I've got it all together and I'm so successful and I'm not affected by what's happening, because last year affected all of us immensely. Mentally, like I said before, nothing could prepare you for what was about to happen. And so I'm just super proud that I had the courage to speak my truth to Annette and to the people in her Monday Mindset that are there without any judgment. I'm just there to listen and to support you and to help you learn, as she said, self-mastery. So I'm excited to learn and grow and continue to be on this journey, because as Annette says, life happens for us, not to us. So I have always grown up with my eyes wide open, looking around going, what can I create? And if I see something, even if I can't find a doorway, I will go and create a doorway first in my mind, and then I don't knock on that door. I will just open that door and I'll walk right through. So I think we often sit back and we wait for opportunities to come to us, and we think, oh, well, if I'm meant to, if things are meant to happen, divine intervention, which I do believe in to a certain point. But I also do believe that we have a responsibility. We choose our reality by being brave and thinking, what else is possible? or how can I, ask. They say the quality of our answers depends on the quality of our questions. So I just urge all of you watching to, like Annette said, create your own reality and create your own opportunities. I mean, we've got this summit happening today. Why? Just because we chose to do it. I got together with Aldwyn and I said, I know we can do it. We know the technology. It may not all go smoothly. Sometimes things don't, but you've just got to roll with the punches. I've had many events over the last 10 years and things don't always go to plan. And so often we don't get in front of the camera because we're so worried about it not working or stumbling over words and not knowing what to say. But in fact, you've just got to go and do it and know that, yes, there may be some people who will judge you, will criticize you because it wasn't professional enough, or your lighting wasn't perfect, or you read off your notes, or you stumbled over your words. But those people that are criticizing you are probably not out there doing video. And there's no other way of getting in front of the camera than just putting yourself out there. So encourage you to start your own summit, right? The world needs more good news, as Aldwyn always says. So what can you do to collaborate with other people that you know, whether they're men or women or whatever industry you're in, to share your knowledge and expertise and your wisdom and spread more love and light out into the world. So Annette, is there anything you want to leave us with today? Final words from you?
I would just like to share with everybody, firstly, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the other ladies today. To be sharing this together is extra special. Your last point about the law of attraction, how I phoned you rather than you phoning me, is testament to that. We are creating our own reality through the law of attraction, and that we are powerful beyond measure. It's something that you can't necessarily do on your own because a lot of it you may be unconscious about. However, to make the decision to want to live fearlessly and to want to explore your unlimited potential and to be masterful, compassionate, loving, all of the words that were said today, it's the most wonderful journey you'll ever take. And every area of your life, your relationships, personal, professional, your business, will explode beyond your wildest dreams. So come on the journey of that if you haven't already done so. And if you are, continue and be very kind to yourself.
Thank you, Annette. Thank you for joining us on the panel this afternoon. And over to you, Maria. Any final words you want to leave our viewers with?
Yeah, I just want to say that I am passionate about future-proofing people. And the reason is that we live longer than ever before. We are more capable than ever before. We have more technology than ever before. We have more tools like the law of attraction and other spiritual tools than we've ever had before that we're aware of. And they've existed forever, but now they're really conscious for us. They're here. People are talking about them. And the best way to future-proof yourself is to build your resilience. Find that, find your strengths, really focus on them, be really clear about what you want and what you desire in your life. And I think desire is such an important word because it evokes a passion about doing and creating. Ignore the stereotypes, create your own path, be in your own lane, as Annette talked about earlier. Stay in your lane and create the life that you want in an environment where women are in their 50s are the highest group of growing homelessness in Australia, where we have got so many issues now with regards to disadvantage because of COVID. We can make and create steps to determine our own future. We don't have to wait for the government to make a decision for us. We can come together and do it together. Reach out to the women on this panel, reach out to the women in the summit today, reach out in your own community, find the people who can support you. Don't go it alone, because I know when I started, law of attraction, up came Melissa on my screen, and I went, oh, that sounds interesting. And I went to her networking group, and it was the start of not only growing my skills as a businesswoman, as an entrepreneur, but also the start of me creating my people, my tribe, my network of people that are so close and so dear to me now, that support me every single day in what I do. And that's what we all need to back one another. So find your peeps, find your tribe, believe in yourself. And if you don't, find people who will tell you you're amazing until you do. Okay? That's my advice today. And I just also quickly wanted to mention that my marketing business, because I haven't actually said the name before, is Creative Biz Hub. So I'm a future-proofing counsellor, and I'm also a partner and co-creator and founder of the Creative Business Hub, Biz Hub. Okay. Thank you so much for having us on the panel.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you for
Over
doing
to
this,
you,
Mel.
Jenny.
I just want to say, see yourself as a woman who is free, who is strong, and who is courageous. And remember, throwing a stone in the pond and that it will repel out. Just remember, you can make just a tiny bit of difference just in your everyday life, and that tiny little, what you think might be just tiny, that seed can grow and grow and grow and grow. And you are worthy, you are valuable, you're here on the earth, you have a life purpose. And I think sometimes we just need to look around us to see what that life purpose is, because often as women we have low self-esteem and low feelings of self-worth. But I just want to stand here and tell you, whoever needs to hear this, that you are valuable, you're loved, you're awesome, and just go out there and make whatever difference in the world in a positive way that you are able to.
Thank you so much, Jenny, and thank you, ladies, once again for joining us on the panel. You're going to hear from Jenny Woolsey later, and as I said before, you can go back and watch the morning stream with Annette Hurley and Maria Paterakis' talk this morning. So next up, we've got about 10 more speakers for this afternoon. So I just want to introduce our next speaker. The beautiful Christina Savcar is coming up. So Christina Savcar is a signature style strategist and a confidence coach, empowering women. Just checking I've got my mic on. Yes, good. Empowering women to create a high-end signature style brand. She has dedicated the last 3 decades supporting and empowering some of the most established and well-known leaders in their field to amplify their visibility, confidence, and impact. Christina believes that when intelligence, style, and magnetic presence unite, you can amplify your personal brand and create magnificent impact instantly. Christina invites you to take her hand and together choose to refine your presence, restyle your brand, represent your best self, and rise into a powerful visionary leader and become the amplified woman. Hello, Christina.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, goodness. That's good. That's good. That's good. Thank you.
So over to you, Christina. What do you want to share with us today?
Okay. I would like to share my story today. I only just got told yesterday that I would be presenting. So this message I just channeled. So this is for you. In a world where you can be anything, be extraordinary at being you. Did you catch that? Not someone else. Be extraordinary being you. I wish that I had a tribe of people around me growing up to share that, but this was not my reality. At the tender age of 5, My father bellowed angrily, "Just who the hell do you think you are? Do you think that you're better than me?" "Miss High Almighty," he would say. "My mother?" She turned a blind eye and started grooming me to look beautiful so that I could use this as a powerful tool and a way to forget my internal mess. But this grooming led to another kind of grooming by the local pedophile in our community, and this lasted for a decade. You see, all these tragedies were made to stunt my growth to be extraordinary. But today I want to encourage you to live with gratitude. Yes, for all of what life has made you live through. Because you, yes, even you, were created for an extraordinary life. But, I hear this all the time. My clients tell me all the time. And they say, "Look at me. My body's short or too tall, overweight, uncared for. All these years of looking after others. Look at me. I'm uncoordinated. My face, it's not even symmetrical. I've got wrinkles and scars. I don't even like my voice. I don't want people to know this about me," they'd say. "Look at all the beautiful people on social media. How could I even compare or compete? Oh, look, I'd rather just be invisible." Today, I want to encourage you, myself, as a lifelong designer dressing women's bodies and helping them feel and look amazing, that all your flaws are beautiful because they tell a story. They tell a story of your humanity. And I want to challenge you today. It is time to start a revolution. Did you catch that? Revolution of the culture that has suppressed our voices for too long, especially the media that I grew up in the 90s, and the rise of the supermodel, where we went to ridiculous lengths to obtain that similar status, but failed for so many reasons. Today, by sharing my story and allowing myself to be seen, is the start of the impact I can create. Because my story is extraordinary, just like yours. When Melissa asked me to speak today, I was like, what subject? Because I've lived through so much in 51 years. Her next words were so powerful. She asked me to share something that if it were my last day today to live, what is the legacy that I would leave? What is the impact that I would want to create? And that is this message for you today. It is to find gratitude in all obstacles of your life. The story of Corrie ten Boom comes to mind. She was a prisoner of war in the Nazi concentration camp. You may or may not know this story, but it really touched my heart. The guards put Corrie and her sister in a tent filled with fleas. Imagine that. They were so unbearingly uncomfortable. And Corrie's sister encouraged her with her deep faith in the divine to be grateful, yes, even for the fleas, not knowing why, but just saying, be grateful. But Corrie, she fought that idea and wrestled with it like crazy. But later, Corrie learned that the reason the guards had overlooked their tent in that concentration camp is because they didn't want to be bothered by those fleas. Imagine, there wasn't any luxury like showering like there is today. You probably lived in your clothes for many, many days before you saw water to cleanse your body. Finding gratitude in the fleas, that just took on a whole new meaning. Yes, it did. So Corey and her sister were able to have some peace for a little while. The guards would pass their tent more often than not, while the others endured ridiculous oppressions. And Corey learned the powerful lesson to be grateful for everything. That's powerful. And you can check out the rest of the story on YouTube or online somewhere and see the full message. The other message for today is forgiveness. Now, many years ago, I learned that if I was to survive all of my tragedies in my life and just cruise on resilience, that I was missing out on so much more, so much more. So I dug deeper. And I connected with my higher power. And I learnt the power of forgiveness. Forgiveness was the secret. It was the secret ingredient to gain my power back and step into the extraordinary life. Extraordinary life, you cannot put money on it. It's the way you live. It's the essence of who you are. Because you see, forgiveness is not easy, and it's certainly not for the faint-hearted. And it's certainly not for those seeking revenge and justice. Forgiveness was the tool to set me free and set me up for a life of extraordinary. You see, forgiveness, like gratitude, were two of the most powerful tools that I use today in my life. And you've got access to this too. And when you change your life with these tools, you'll be able to change somebody else's life also. Not because of you doing it for them, but them witnessing your extraordinary life. You made the change for you. So it's time to rise and get over yourself. Seriously, flaws and all, we've all got them. It's time to embrace this sisterhood of the revolution of change makers. That's you and that's me. That's why you're here. That's why you're listening today. I'm just the channel for this message. That is it. It's time to embody your whole story, everything, all of it, and all the ingredients that have made you into the person you are today. And you are never alone. And by divine grace, you can achieve all things. I know. I've tried it on and it works. And now it's your turn, because you cannot change that you are divinely loved, loved beyond measure. I'm emotional saying it. It's been quite a journey. Today, be inspired and be blessed. Thank you.
Oh, Christina, thank you so much. I'm sending you so much big hugs.
Thank you.
I feel just hold this space. Give her lots of love, because I know this is not about you. This feeling even that you've got inside of you, I know that this is for all women. And that's what you do. You make women feel amazing and comfortable with who they are. And I know I experienced this the other day because I wore a dress out, and I said to Christina, I'm so self-conscious of my skin. I've got scars all over my body, and I was really unsure about wearing this dress to this event. I mean, this event was about a charity. It wasn't even really about me, but Christina's just like, we've all got flaws. We've all got them. And I'm just like, but you know, it's funny how we look at somebody else and, you know, we see beauty, but they often say is what you see is a reflection of yourself, you know. So I just want to say thank you for that beautiful message. It was very powerful and very healing, not only for yourself.
Yes.
It's time for you to step up beautiful and share more of who you are as a person, not just as a stylist, not as just as a seamstress, not as a signature style strategist, just as a human being, as a beautiful woman, as a beautiful mother that I know you to be. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, up next we have got another beautiful speaker coming up, and she's a soul sister. I'm going to call her my soul sister. There's people that you meet in life. As they say, some people come into your life for a season or a reason. And our next speaker, Tammy Richie, I hope never leaves my life, because I feel like we are really have come into this world together to, yeah, just inspire others to rise up from any adversity. So Tammy Richie, after a massive tragedy woke her up, she was truly grateful to be reignited and get out of her head space and into her heart. She was an engineer in the Air Force for 17 years, and it took massive impact she made a massive impact in this world. And she's gone on to do incredible things. She has a national training organisation called First Aid You Can Too. She is a lecturer in many of the universities here and all around the world, training, facilitating people on first aid, and just a beautiful soul. So please welcome Tammy Richie.
And hi.
Need to unmute.
Yeah, sorry, wait on. Where can I see that?
You're unmuted now.
Oh, okay. Don't you just love a team that comes together to really help you when you really need it? It's going off. Thank you, Mel, for the wonderful introduction. And from wherever you are around this magical globe, you know, congratulations for just showing up and being here. Honestly speaking, some of the amazing speakers that have been on today to share from their innermost heart is just absolutely incredible. And I've come on to actually stir your soul as well, because as Mel has spoken about some of the things that I'd been through, I often wonder, and I want you to actually put a little magnifying glass on your own life and a mirror to actually see we never go through life where things don't happen. You know, I've gone through so many obstacles even this year alone. And we never get to the point where we're never, ever going to go through these obstacles. But I encourage you to actually look at them from a different perspective. Look at the obstacle as though it's happening for, not to you. And if you can take on that approach and rise above that and see the power and put the power on the outcome that you desire, absolutely miracles happen. We learn so many lessons as a result of that, and it's those lessons that we can then inspire others with. And that's exactly what's happened in my journey. My journey with adversity started at a very, very ripe young age, actually from the day I was first born. And all of the strength and resilience gained over that time, it's been like a blanket, because I know I went through that. And then when the next adversity came, I then had the tools to be able to overcome the next step. So as we're going through these adversities, look at the light on it. See it happening for you. And the lessons that you've learned previously, you can put into that so it becomes like a dot to dot in your life. We're never going to be exempt from tragedies. We're never going to be exempt from obstacles that come up. We are human. We are human living on this earth. And the purpose of that is to actually go through your life and discover your purpose. And many of us can go through our lives and really live an unfulfilled life, just go through the motions and almost feel dead inside. But life is such a short journey. And the moment you're reignited with your soul and your purpose, life just becomes absolutely amazing and opens up. So as the things that have happened in my life, each lesson that I've learned, each tragedy that I've overcome, there's been more lessons, and it evolves. And as it evolves, it takes me closer to my truth. And like an onion, the onion layers unveil and unpeel and becomes a shining light that shines out to the world. So I want to share with you a few tips today along my journey, that what I've learned, that hopefully it can encourage you to see the blessings and the gratitude in absolutely every single moment. And instead of waiting until you're happy, waiting for the day that you're happy, waiting until you've gotten to that promotion or that award, or waiting until you got this, name, letter to your name, just allow you to stop. Be present and see the beauty that's all around you right now, and really start igniting your soul and living the life that you deserve. Because the most valuable thing in my life is being able to help others discover their why by deciding they can. Because often they don't people don't put emphasis on themselves. They think they've got to, look after someone else's needs before their own needs. And I know, because I used to be a people pleaser myself, and I'd always be trying to make sure everyone else was happy just so that I could actually feel that love myself. But the moment you start working on yourself and start doing the inner work is when you come alive, and then everyone else in your life benefits. So some of the things that I want to teach you are some of the most powerful lessons that I've learnt. And, just like a woven cloth can be used over and over and over again, no matter what adversity, no matter what obstacle, no matter what comes up in your life as well. Because where you are right now, whether you like it or not, is a result of all the choices that you've made. So at any one point, if you're not happy with those choices, if you're not happy with where you are, if you're not lit up, if you're not fulfilled, guess what? You can change it. There's only one person that can change it. You can't give the power to someone else and ask them to come and change your life. It's got to be up to you. So I encourage you to do these things that I'm going to share with you and start your day the best absolute way that you can, so that you can create the life that you deserve. And as you're doing this, synchronicities just show up. Because if you want to be able to create your life, if you say to yourself, I want to go on a diet, and the language that you use is, I want to go on a diet, suddenly you start to see all your favorite foods all around the place. Favorite chocolate, all your foods, and you think, oh my goodness, I'm just wanting to go on a diet. But if you reworded it, and instead of actually having it as a 3D image, but had it as a 5D image for the feeling that you want to get as a result. So you want to feel, rewording it like, I want to feel energetic and alive, and being so clear on that, and setting the intention on where you want to go, you're going to have more chance of being successful at that. Because we're all here on a journey. We don't know what our purposes are, but what we want to do is be able to what we want to do is to be able to tune in and discover what our purpose is, because we don't want to get to the end of our life, like I've seen recently, and feel unfulfilled and have a life of disappointment. So what we want to do is, the most powerful thing that I've learned in my life is the power of breathing. And I know that we're all breathing now to keep us alive, but it's a different type of breathing. You see, when my little boy went missing this particular day and I couldn't discover him, I didn't know where he was, the thing that actually saved me and tuned into my heart and allowed me to not dismiss the intuition that was pushing me was the fact that I was doing deep breathing. So it's just so powerful. By breathing in deep belly breaths and holding it and then breathing out, it allows all the chatter out of our head to get out of the way, and it allows us to tune into our heart. Because our head is always trying to keep us safe. Our head is the thing that when we get excited, our head is trying to keep us safe and certain, and, oh, you don't want to do those things. This is, this will happen. What will people say? Blah, blah, blah. All of these things that I know that you're familiar with. By focusing on your breath every single morning when you first wake up, it allows you to tune into your heart so that when the opportunities come and you get excited, you stay in that excitement. It also allows you to see the things that we need to see. It's like our global positioning system from God, from divine, from whatever you believe in, because we do all have our gifts. We get so busy in our life that our head tries to take us out. So if I hadn't have done the breathing prior to my son's incident, my head would have been trying to tell me and try to justify where he might be. He might be playing with his toys in another room. He might be painting the walls with my makeup. And that's exactly what my head was trying to do. But because of the breath work that I had done, there was no mistaking that it caused me to push. My heart caused me to push to go looking room after room to try and discover him, and I couldn't find him. And fortunately, I found him unconscious and floating in our backyard pool. Many of you probably know my story, and if you haven't, go on to firstaidwhyoucan2.com or whyoucan2.com.au. because my story is really powerful, because I was able to get out of my head, tune into my heart, grab my little boy under all these circumstances where everything was failing me, and get over myself and tell myself that it wasn't about me, but it was all about my son. And to understand that it didn't need to be perfect, that any attempt was better than no attempt at all. And I was able to resuscitate and save his life against all odds. But that was just the first major incident. I had a lot prior to that as well. And I've continued to go on and learn more. But as I said, during each adversity, during each obstacle, we can actually send the energy to the outcome that we desire and actually pick up that tool that we were meant to learn from that obstacle. It allows us to continue to grow and to evolve and to become the best version of ourselves. So breathing is powerful. Another really awesome tip is giving yourself space, because space, let me tell you, is where the magic is. I'm not talking about space like as in outer space. I'm talking about the space around you, the time to just be, the time to just be present, to see the beauty that's already exists without trying to, as I mentioned before, wait for the time that you become happy, wait for the time when you get excited. What if you could see the beauty in every single moment and just be and be present? By allowing yourself to meditate, to close your eyes, to just not think about anything at all, that's where the magic lies, because it allows you to actually get closer to your soul's purpose. As an engineer, when I was an engineer and I'll be doing a job or something, and sometimes it just wouldn't go your way, like you're trying to get this part off and it just wasn't working. And then you get more frustrated the longer that you were there. And sometimes some of the guys would just be there for, hours just trying to do the same thing, and they're getting frustrated with it. So what we actually did and what I learned was walking away, having a break, taking some breaths, coming back, and then that thing just happens to work out much more easily, because the space is the most amazing thing. Sometimes we're going to go through life and we'll have obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. But if we're focusing on the obstacle and not the space around the obstacle, it can really take us out. So I encourage you to see the beauty in every single obstacle and to be able to send the energy to the outcome that you desire. In doing so, not just sending it as a 3D image, but what if you could amplify it, really just lighten it up, really just allow your light to shine brightly by adding an extra feeling to that. And then even more powerful, what I've discovered along my journey, is looking at it from another perspective. looking at it from God's perspective or your mum's perspective or someone else's perspective, to looking at it looking down over that incident that occurred and seeing you in that incident and seeing how amazing it is to be able to learn the lesson. Sometimes it can take your breath away, and sometimes it's difficult to be able to do that. So I'm going to give you another tool that I use every single day. The moment I wake up, it's not just gratitude, it's not just forgiveness. Obviously, before I get out of bed, I look around, not just materialistic things, but my family, my gorgeous children that I've been so blessed to have. You know, like I was an adopted child, so having my own children was pretty spectacular to me, and I know it would be for Mel as well. You know, having a wonderful husband and living on a gorgeous property, just having the air to breathe, those types of things. But to even accelerate it even higher, the thing is, if you turn on the TV, all we see is negative emotions, negative things going on in the world. And those negative things, and that's why I loved Aldwyn, like so amazing with her good news, because the thing is, if we're watching all the negative news that the media wants us to watch, it can really drain us out and allow us to get into our head and really, you know, stop us. But instead, what we want to do is not just put in good news, but we've all got good news ourselves and we just forget about it. So what if you could, and this sometimes can be difficult to do for the very first time, but I want to encourage you to sit back, take the time to write down and really think about the times with some of these emotions that you went through in your life, to be able to allow the good energy to come in, because we have super highways. If we fill the super highways with all this negative energy, we're not going to allow the good energy to come in and the space to come in to be able to amplify our life purpose and allow the synchronicities to come in. So what I want you to do is think of some emotions, like as in proud, happy, excited, laughing, loving. Go to each one of those emotions and take yourself there. Take yourself to a time when you were proud as punch in your life. Yes, it might be difficult to discover that, but I'm sure we all have proud moments, whether or not it was our mum telling us how proud she was of us when we were tying our shoes up, or it can be an early memory, or it could be something when you've won an award, or it could be when you've run a race. It doesn't really matter. It's all just about getting the energy to the outcome that we desire. So see yourself in a helicopter looking down on yourself, your younger version of yourself, when you were so proud that you were bursting. And then I'm going to encourage you to do a thing called stacking and grab another proud moment and another proud moment and another proud moment, and then move on to happiness. When was there a time in your life that you were really happy that you were going to burst? Perhaps it was the day, if you're a mum, when you had your child. Perhaps it was the day when, you know, someone looked at you and smiled. You know, whatever it is for you, it doesn't really matter. It's absolutely perfect. But try to, you know, look at those happy moments and just amplify them and just stack them up. And then go to laughing, because laughing is the best form of medicine. I've overcome a couple of autoimmune diseases myself and broken back. I've broken my back before in my life and had to learn how to walk again. And if I would have stayed in that space and told myself, you can just imagine where I'd be right now. I'd still be in a wheelchair. I'd still be not able to walk. But instead, what it's done for me is to look at gratitude and appreciation that I can walk, I can run, I can do whatever. I've got 2 legs, do you know? So we're actually sending the energy onto those things, the good parts of it, instead of actually sitting there in the moment and allowing the energy to fill up those super highways with the negative energies of can't. But we're trying to tell ourselves that we can. So all of these things helped me overcome all of these massive tragedies that I've had. And this is all available to us all. It's just some absolute incredible, invaluable tools that I've learned along my journey. So laughing, looking at yourself, some funny moment that you've had in your life, whatever it is for you, it doesn't really matter. You know, I remember one time going up the lift the total wrong way. And you know, like I was pregnant and I just had my baby, and then I'm trying to get up this lift and I couldn't work out why I couldn't get onto the lift. and the lift is going the wrong way. And I was like, what's wrong with this lift? You know, and I look at it now and I think, oh my goodness, that is just hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. But, you know, there's so many funny moments in our lives. There's so many. And if you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at? And remember, anytime that you're doing these emotions, it's actually illuminating your soul, because our journey is to unpack all this stuff that's happened. Because when we were born in this planet, in planet Earth, we were like just ourselves. And then all of these experiences have happened to us. But really, have they happened to or for us? Filling yourself up with this amazing energy every single day, with those emotions that I mentioned to you earlier, will absolutely help illuminate. And by being so clear on all these things, synchronicities just show up. So you may not know what you want to do in your life. You may be at that stage where you're still scratching your head. You might be stuck in a job where you don't know, where you're frustrated, where it's no longer fulfilling you. You may not know what to do, like I did as an engineer. I had no idea. I mean, I loved the job, but I made it to the top of the ceiling and it no longer fulfilled me. And I really didn't want to go back to it. But I don't want you to manifest a massive tragedy to be able to wake you up. It's more possible to be able to find your purpose by starting with these little small baby steps, because remember, day one is better than day none. And by doing these small steps, finding the joy, the beauty, the excitement in life, where your heart just illuminates. I do a lot of these things on the beach with my shoes off, in the water, or out in the rainforest, or wherever it is, wherever you are around this world, we've got Mother Nature around us. Mother Nature is such a gorgeous gift. And by doing these things in those spaces, it really does help ignite your soul. So you don't need to know how or what or whatever it is, what your purpose is right now. But by starting on these little tools, it will absolutely help remove the clutter out of your head and allow you to tune into your heart, where all your answers are. Because what I know is we don't need to have massive tragedies to discover that. But what I do know is those of us that do have tragedies or do have massive adversities, do have obstacles that come up, we never get them given to us unless we are strong enough to get through them. So don't let it take you out. Let it give you your energy and your tools to rise up. And once you've done that and you've discovered it, you've discovered your why, shout it to the rooftops, because everyone needs to know your story. All these wonderful ladies today have so many incredible stories that they've overcome. And they do amazing things as a result. And they're not any different than what you and I are. Okay, you are good enough. You are worthy. Everything you need is within you. And I'm here to remind you of that, to shine your light to the world. Because if I can do this, guess what? You can too. Thank you so much for your precious time. Have an amazing rest of your day.
Thank you, beautiful Tammy. Always so inspirational. And I know no matter what's going on for you in your life, no matter how crazy it is, you've always got a positive spin on it. Like, what's the lesson in this? Or, you know. So keep on shining your beautiful light out into the world, gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you, beautiful. Will do.
Okay, up next we have the amazing Jenny Woolsey. I'm going to put her into the live stream. She's not coming up. Here she is. Slight delay there. Oh, good. Jenny Woolsey is a best-selling author. She's a speaker, an advocate, and educator on disability and difference awareness and equality. Born with a rare craniofacial syndrome and living with a visual impairment, anxiety, and depression, Jenny is a single mum to 3 children who also have disabilities. Jenny holds a Master of Education, honours, and writes children's fictions and self-help books around her motto, "Be weirdly wonderful." Embrace your disabilities and differences. Jenny has been showcased internationally and recently featured in the book Change Makers Volume 5, which tells the stories of powerful women who are impacting the lives of others. Take it away, Jenny.
Well, happy International Women's Day, everybody. And thank you, Melissa, for having me and inviting me to speak. I feel very privileged. So to begin with, I would like to ask you a question. Have you ever not gone to an event or an outing because you won't know someone there, or you think you might not know someone now? Well, me, hopefully there are some other people with their hands up or nodding your head. So basically you have, you're shy, or you may even have social anxiety. Well, I'm going to talk this afternoon about social anxiety because it's something that has really affected me through my life. But you may not know that research in the UK from the Anxiety Organisation says that 40% of the population actually suffer from social anxiety. So if you feel like you're the only one in the world, look around you. There are lots of other people feeling the same way. So let me tell you a little bit about my story. So as Mel said, I was born with a rare craniofacial syndrome. So that means my skull and my face were affected. So to say it really quickly and simply, the bones in my skull and my face were too small when I was born. So I have really bulgy eyes, really flat face. Plates in my skull were fused, but we also have a big jaw. It's 1 in 100,000 incidents. When I was born, it was 1 in 250,000. So when I was born, my parents decided they wanted to take me home and they wanted to love me and bring me up the way that my brothers, I have 2 older brothers, the way they were being brought up. But they had kickback from society. They were told to keep me hidden at home. They were told that I was ugly and I was different and I didn't deserve to be out in the community. And as you can imagine from that, I was pointed at, I was laughed at, I was bullied every day for my face, something that I couldn't change. By the age of 8, I had developed social anxiety. I would walk around with my head down, not wanting to make eye contact with anyone, and I hated meeting new people. So I have endured 4 surgeries on my skull and face, but 2 full face reconstructions. So I don't look entirely like I did growing up. I had my final one when I was 18 years old. And after that, society said to me, I looked normal, whatever normal is. But I carried with me all of what I'd been through, all the trauma and the social anxiety into my adulthood. So I actually went on to become a primary school teacher, and I taught in the same school for 25 years. So with my social anxiety, my syndrome, I also have low vision, and I can't drive. So it was really good being in the one school. I felt safe and I felt secure. I was known and I was fully entrenched in my comfort zone. It did not help my social anxiety. But my social anxiety wasn't just about physically meeting people. it also went into other areas of my life. For example, I had a phobia of using the telephone. And it stemmed back to after I had my last surgery at 18, my jaws were moved and wired together. And afterwards, you couldn't really understand what I was saying very well. And people kept asking me to repeat myself. And I got really self-conscious about that. And so I stopped using the telephone. I stopped ringing people. I wouldn't ring for a pizza. I wouldn't even ring people I knew. It would take me like 3 or 4 days to get up the courage to ring a friend, all because I thought they may not understand what I had to what I had to say. And this telephone phobia actually has stayed with me my whole life. I'm only just now conquering it. So I left teaching in 2014 due to anxiety and depression, but I haven't got time to go into that now. I needed to find something after teaching because teaching was my identity as well as being a mum. I have always loved writing, and I wanted to write a book. Well, that caused a problem. That meant I would have to go on my own to new places and meet new people. I was so scared. And sometimes I did avoid going. It was just too hard to do it. I worried about not being able to see people properly with my low vision. I had mild hearing loss. I worried about that I wouldn't be able to hear people. I worried about, I have a tracheostomy scar on my neck. I worried about what are people going to think because I was teased about that growing up. I talk, my mouth moves differently. I worried about what people would think about how I talked. And I'm not really good at making small talk because of my social anxiety growing up. And so I worried about, well, what was I going to talk to people about who I didn't know? Like, it was all so stressful. Well, I had a choice to make. I could either stay in my comfort zone or I could rise out of it and face my fears. When I was growing up, my mum would always say, if I wanted to do something, I would do it. So that's what I chose. I chose to rise up above my comfort zone and challenge my social anxiety. Now, as part of that, I sought professional help. I did go and see a psychologist, and that has helped me work through all of my childhood traumas and some other events that have occurred in my life that I'm not talking about today. So I really highly recommend seeking help from a professional if your anxiety is stopping you from doing things. Now, I still get nervous. I still get butterflies. I still, like this morning when I woke up, I had a little bit of my funny tummy, which I get when I'm slightly anxious. But it's not as bad as it used to be. And I know the more I do step out of my comfort zone, the less anxiety I will have. So I thought it might be beneficial today to speak about some tips. A bit like Tammy had her tips, I've got 3 tips for you about stepping out of your comfort zone and addressing either your shyness or social anxiety, if that's what you've got. So tip number 1, challenge your negative and anxious thoughts. So sometimes it feels like nothing you can do. Sometimes it feels like there is nothing you can do about what's in your head, about what you're thinking and feeling. You know, in fact, that's wrong. You can. Because if you have the thought, oh, you know, I'm not going to go, I'm not going to know anyone, it's just going to be awful, or I'm not good enough, Or, you know, if I don't turn up, no one's going to miss me. You know, all those thoughts we say, and we tend to believe them. Well, we need to stop. Put up a stop sign to those thoughts and think about them and challenge them. Are they true? I've not been to an event and then I've had people say to me, where were you? We missed you. So they did miss me. That was a lie I was telling myself. So are you over exaggerating with what you are telling yourself as well? Are you thinking about everything that could go wrong? Or are you thinking about what can go right? So for example, say you have to go somewhere, and I think this is the biggest one, you have to go somewhere and you're on your own and you don't know anyone. I think that's our biggest concern normally. And you think you're just going to have a really bad time. It's going to be really awkward. Well, instead of saying to yourself, this is going to be awful, I'm going to hate it, why am I going? Say, well, as soon as I get there, I'm going to look around the room and I'm going to find someone or one or two people even who aren't talking to anyone, or just a group of two. And I'm just going to go over there, have some courage, be brave, go over there and say hi. Even if even if I say to them something about the weather to get the conversation started. You know, I've had to learn sentences to say to people so that I know how to make small talk. Tip 2, focus on others. So when we're really anxious, we go into ourselves and we focus on how we are feeling and how we think others see us. And usually that's in a negative way. We're really worried that people are judging us. But you know what? Most times people are so concerned about themselves, how they look, how they're acting, that they're not judging us. And even if they are judging us, we need to just let that go. It's not important. You need to turn your focus off yourself and put it onto your audience or your client. Like if you're a mum in business, you've obviously got a product or a service that you believe in that you are trying to sell or promote. So you need to turn it away from yourself and how inadequate you feel or how anxious you feel, and think about, I need to get my product or service into the hands of these people. They really need it. And if you take the focus off yourself and put it onto your client or your audience, then you are less likely to feel anxious about doing it. And tip number 3, face your fears. So I've got 2 really quick strategies that have worked for me. The first one is really simple. I call it 20 seconds of courage. I used this particularly when I had to make phone calls, particularly ones that might be a bit awkward or I considered hard. So basically I have 20 seconds to do the task and I can't back out. In the beginning, I would have my family stand beside me. And they would stand with me while I picked up the phone, I dialed the number, I made the phone call, and I hung up. And then we would celebrate, like, yay, you did it. And the more and more I did that, the easier it got. I can now make phone calls to people I don't know. And if they don't understand what I'm saying, I just repeat it. If I don't understand what they're saying, I ask them to repeat it. The second one is exposure therapy. You know, people who are scared of snakes and dogs. sometimes do this, but it's really worked for my social anxiety. So basically, you expose yourself. See, I had a phobia of taking taxis. I didn't want to get in a taxi or an Uber, though I rarely still take Ubers, because I didn't want to get into a taxi or a car with someone I didn't know and have to talk to them. So I started off ringing the taxi, which also I had to overcome, because that's ringing someone I didn't know. And then I would get in the taxi, and then I would just, do it more and more and more and more. And again, over time, and you can do this with videos as well. Do a 10-second video, and then do a 20-second video, and so on. And so over time, you get more used to it, and you become more confident, and it gets so much easier. So they're my tips for you. So I just want you to think about this. If we avoid, we will never grow. And if you avoid, you will never rise out of your comfort zone. So to end with, I encourage you to rise up out of your comfort zone, to challenge your negative and your anxious thoughts, to focus on your talents, focus on your clients and your audience, and I want you to face your fears. So your life is now. It's International Women's Day. You need to get up. You need to get going. You've got so much to achieve in your life. And as I always say as well, be weirdly wonderful. Dare to embrace your disability and your differences. So thank you, Melissa, for having me. Can't hear you.
Thank you, Jenny. Lovely message, very inspiring. And yes, we all have differences, and our disabilities can often be our losing my voice. Our disabilities can often be our greatest gifts. So thank you for standing up for all people with differences and sharing your story and your message.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
So up next, we have the beautiful Kelly Kingston. She is an international multi-award-winning entrepreneur, a best-selling author, global film producer, holistic wellness center owner, and a mother to 4 children. Kelly is a highly free-spirited woman who struggles in her wellness practitioner business just over 10 years ago now, not understanding the fundamentals of business. Kelly started her own wellness business, but what she didn't know about business created problems for her that frustrated her. Kelly had no direction and she needed help. In the year 2012, Kelly manifested her white knight, her life partner, a chartered accountant and business strategist. Within 3 months of being together, Kelly stepped out of her wellness business and together they started their first business, opening an accounting practice, and for 4 years, Graham taught her everything he knew about business and more. Now Kelly is creating a new brand that allows her to fully step into her life purpose and guide individuals on a self-healing journey back to themselves, to align with themselves for their highest purpose. Her business is insightful, showing or having insight, perceptive to make the right choice for you on your journey called life. Live, inspire, flow. Embrace as you are the meaning of life. Insightful Wellness is open for business, supporting all areas of your self-healing journey from the inside out, around unleashing issues in your tissues that no longer serve you. So please welcome Kelly Kingston.
International Women's Day Global Summit to you.
Thank you, beautiful.
Well, hello and welcome. Are you stupid? Are you really stupid? Can you be that dumb that you can't do that job properly? Really? Do you want to go back and have a think about where you've just been? This is how I have been treated pretty well much the whole of my life. I was told on so many different occasions how less of value my life is compared to other people's. Now, it's taken me a long time to get to where I am right now and to really, really weave my way through the web of life in understanding and really, really acknowledging different feelings I have within my body, because our body knows. Okay, so when we are out of alignment and we are not in tune with who we are, our body gives us signals and signs. So are you listening to those signals and signs? Because these signals and signs come from within. And what I want to share with you today is a journey on my self-healing journey about how I was put in hospital 10 times in 1 week, and I was told there was nothing wrong with me. And I knew deep, deep, deep down inside that there was. So I embarked on my own self-healing journey. Now that was 12 years ago, longer now, 16 years ago, sorry. And what I found was something that hadn't been taught to me, hadn't been shown to me, and I never lived this as a child or growing up because it wasn't brought into my awareness. So I have put a list of elements, okay, which are emotions that harm different areas of our bodies. And I want to share this with you because this information was vital to me to learn how I could heal myself. It's okay to talk about externally putting food in our mouths and practicing what we preach and talking and creating that vibrational frequency effect of as you see it, so it is, as above, so below, as within, so without. But if you don't support the internal organs that are giving you signs to say, whoa, hold up, there's something wrong, we need to have a look at that. So how emotions harm our body or affect our body, depending on how you want to look at it. Anger. What internal organ does anger support in your body or not support? It is the liver. So whenever we get angry, our liver is flaring up. Okay, so we need to know that what foods can we add, what drinks can we drink, what meditations can we take on board that support this. This was one of the biggest things in my life that I needed to learn, and I didn't know where to look. I didn't even know who to ask. I went to my mother, and my mother goes, "Oh, just take your pill, love. You'll be right." The next one is grief. Grief. It affects our bodies in so many ways. We have our mobile phones and we lay in this position. Every single person that has a mobile phone throughout their day looks at their phone like this. What is this position? This position is grief. This position is our hands in our face that we are looking at. We need to change the way in which our body language and how we project ourselves on a day-to-day basis. Grief affects our lungs. We need to take deep breaths. We need to learn breathing techniques that support the release of emotions from our body. The next one is worry. And don't we all do that? Only too well, hey? Especially when you have children. What organ do you think worry affects the stomach. Absolutely. When we worry, we go, oh my gosh, I've got that funny feeling in my stomach. So not only are you going, oh, I'm worried, but you're already telling your stomach that there's something wrong, but your stomach already knew that. So what are you going to do about it? Yeah? The next one is stress. And we all know too well what this one is, because we all do it. Even if the people that say they don't, they do at one time or another. Okay, whether it's you've woken up late and you're running late for a meeting that's being stressed, or you're doing anything. It could be anything. So what area in our internal organs do you think stress affects? Our brain and our heart. 2 organs, okay? So we're stressed not only mentally in our head, but we're stressed in our hearts. So we need to stop and drop and really connect in with, oh my gosh, are we going to let this really happen to us? Because you have total control. You have total control over all the situations that are happening to you right here, right now. You have choice. Next one is fear. Oh my gosh. Fear weakens your kidneys. And so when you're fearful, okay, your kidneys cleanse the water that you drink, okay? Anything that you drink goes through your kidneys, it goes through your liver, it goes through all those aspects. So if you are always fearful about things, you are going to get at dis-ease, okay? And if you let that dis-ease go on and on and on, it then turns into a disease, which we don't want. So we need to get it before it gets that far. What do you think love, peace, and harmony bring into your life? Add a comment. Love, peace, and harmony. What does it bring to you? When I say love, peace, and harmony, what does that mean? It strengthens our mind and our body. So if you practice loving, being peaceful, and having harmony with yourself and loving yourself unconditionally, you will bring in more strength into your mind and your body than ever possibly ever imaginable, okay? And you can do this through different tools like affirmation cards. Affirmation cards, I use these Louise Hayes ones. They're so beautiful. They're simple and they support everything I touch is a success. I am safe. It's only change. And be open to change, because if you're going through a dis-ease or a dysfunction in your life, you can only allow change. The next one, laughter reduces stress. Do you know laughter reduces that much stress that you can then have those laughing fits, and for up to an hour to 4 hours later, you can still be laughing about it. So it has that ripple effect that is totally contagious. And even if you are around other people that didn't get it, they will still laugh at it. And watch it when you're with people or you're at a party or you're doing something. So I say, smile, spread happiness, so smile often. Another thing is, the greatest love is equal love. So when you have equal love for yourself, you can only have equal love for others. When you're on a self-healing journey, you have to be in a holistic space, a holistic mindset. So not only do you have to change the way you think and feel to be able to release and unleash issues in your tissues that no longer serve you, you have to bring in products that you eat that is going to be sustaining you, okay? Not only your body, but your mind, your heart, all those organs that support you being alive here on earth to live your purpose. You change your products that you use in your hair, the toothpaste you put in your mouth to clean your teeth. I don't know why you can't see that. And the snacks. snacks you have to nourish your bodies, skincare that you put for your skin to look bright and shiny for you to face the day. So I have a song that I love to sing, and it's called the Cell Song, and it goes like this. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Melissa Groom, and behind the scenes, the beautiful Aldwyn Alternate, for making this Global International Women's Day Summit the success that it is. Thank you so much. You're on mute. You're muted, Melissa. Melissa, you're muted.
Ah, really? There we go.
I can hear you now.
I just said you're beautiful, and you know what? If you can sing on video, you're way beyond caring what anybody thinks about you, and you're just out there spreading more love and light in the world. Now, I can recall 2 years ago, you were actually hosting this summit with me, co-hosting the summit and doing all the behind-the-scenes stuff. So it's great to have you back and have you on here to share your positive message about, you know, not releasing the issues in your tissues which create disease. And I'm just so proud of the wellness center that you've created there. And please reach out to Kelly if you are not feeling like you have got 10 out of 10. She's got amazing modalities that will blow your mind that you just didn't even know existed. So head on over. Where's the best place that they can find out about your information, Kelly?
At our website, www.insightfulwith2ls.world.
Okay. Do you want to put that link in the comments? That would be great.
No worries, I will. Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you, beautiful. So up next, we have the beautiful Tracy Horton. Let's bring her on. So Tracy Horton is an inspiration to all that meet her. She was born into a home of poverty, domestic violence, and sexual abuse. Her story reads like a horror story. Abused by 12 men and left to raise herself while her mum had a breakdown, all before 14 years of age. Told at 18 that she was so mentally broken that she couldn't contribute to society and would probably be dead by 30. But the doctors that said that didn't know Tracy. She began a definitive journey of self-discovery and healing. Now today is an inspirational speaker, a mentor and educator who teaches emotional strength, resilience, and self-leadership through courses and events worldwide. Tracy is a wealth of knowledge and wisdom. She is easy to listen to with a combination of profound life knowledge and a down-to-earth attitude. When asked what makes her so special, she smiles and says, "I am not that incredible, just determined to have a life that I am completely in love with." Tracy resides on the Gold Coast with her husband, Paul, and they have 4 adult daughters and 9 grandchildren. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take it away, beautiful.
You know, I've been on here most of the day because I have the privilege of most of the speakers being my friends now. And I have to tell you, there is this incredibly beautiful synergy. There's a deep theme going through today that if you are listening, if you're taking it on, you are going to grow incredibly. So today I've got a couple of great opportunities for you. and something really nice that you're all going to share with me, because I do know most of you personally. And one of them is that my 14-year-old granddaughter Madison is listening to me for the first time. She's on in this because today is Choose to Challenge. And so I've challenged myself to invite Madison into my world. I guard my children and my grandchildren very carefully because my story's huge. But Madison and I have had many chats about this, and I'm going to wind out today telling you a story about her and me. But today, and I love it when things work, I want to talk about our 3 brains. And if you girls are listening, the word and number 3 has been everywhere today. And everybody is giving us a piece of the puzzle on how to get into everything that we should have and do it well. And so today I just want to slip in here and just work with all the rest of you and just impart to all you beautiful women around the world. So today I choose to challenge every one of you that is watching this to step up and truly be seen as the woman you are. Because here's the thing, you are on the planet right now for a plan and a purpose that's way bigger than you. And it's to help people and to work with people and to change people. And for some of you, that's 10 people. For some of you, that's 1,000 people. For some of you, that's 10,000 people. And for some of you, that's 1 million people. And that's decided by the universe and Mother Nature and the gods, and certainly not me. But what it is that I want to tell you today is that you are created and here right now for a very distinct plan and purpose. So what I want to do with you is share with you about your 3 brains and how you can have complete control over them. The first one is the one we all understand, which is our head brain. This is where we analyze all the information that's given to us and we logically place it in where we believe it to be true. Every time you're spoken to, you deem that to be knowledge and your head brain takes that in. And I love some of the stuff that Kelly Kingston talks about. And that woman is so deep. I just can be in her presence for hours. And when she's talking about loving ourselves and it being equal love for everybody, she is talking about us changing some of these very logical processes we've all grown up with. But today I want to tell you something amazing that you are doing 1/3 of a second every time you hear somebody speak to you. Inside of your very logical mind, you're deciding if it's true or false based on the bigger surprise. So if I say to you today, you are one incredible woman with a destiny at your feet like I've never seen in another woman. If that's the first time you've heard it, then in 1/3 of a second from me saying that, you discredited it as not being true. That can't be true. Tracy can't have been talking to me. She must have been talking to Aldwin or Melissa or one of the other speakers. Surely she cannot have been talking to me. But if you understand who you truly are, then you would have said, you know what, I'm not surprised. But we discredit the biggest surprise every time. And that is important for us to know, because a lot of the time, we cannot trust our head to lead our lives. And we get caught up in this because we think as long as we can be logical, as long as we can be practical, as long as we can do the saying an affirmation won't change your life. And I want to say that to you again. And I'm understanding the room I'm in. I'm understanding this. But saying an affirmation will do nothing for you. Believing an affirmation will change your life. You've heard a lot today from women I stand in awe of that are incredible. But if all you did was listen today, not much of it is going to change your life. But if you allowed yourself for every 15 minutes they were present with you to feel them and to enjoy them, then I'm telling you now, your life will never, ever be the same. And you owe Melissa Groom a huge, big thank you. The second brain that we have is our heart brain. And this is where we assess emotion. And this is where sometimes some of the best things in our life we do out of our heart brain. Most of you here today know my story. I was raised in a very poor broken home. I was born into a mentally ill father who was a schizophrenic and a mum who was an alcoholic, desperately trying to deal with the DV and sexual abuse that was rampant. So going to school was very difficult for me because for the first time in my life, I realized every other child wasn't like me. And one of the things I learned it wasn't the hard, deep, heavy stuff I learned. It was actually the really practical stuff that undid me, such as what kids took lunches to school. I didn't know that because mum would often be asleep. Mum and dad partied most nights, and mum and dad would still be asleep when we went off to school. So I didn't know that kids had mums that made lunches for them and took them. So this went on. I would just find whatever I could, put it in a bag, give it to my sister. She was 3 years behind me. So when she started school, I would have been about 9, and I was not eating lunch one day, and Mr. Kavanagh, my teacher, asked me why not. And I said, because there was no food in the house this morning, Mr. Kavanagh. And he said, Trace, I might be able to help you. We've got a job going at school. And this job requires somebody to collect all of the brown paper bags with money in it and to write out what they're having, work out the change, deliver the money, put the change in the bag and put them all in a line. And I did it. I went to school for the rest of the year, every day, loved the job. And the payment was that I could have lunch on the school. And I got to have a beautiful big long filled roll and a big cream bun. And I could cut that in half. I asked the lady and she always let me cut it in half so I could give half to my sister. When I went to do my book launch in New Zealand, I was so blessed with that project that the school did. I decided to give back. And so I went to the school with Paul, and we decided that we would give the proceeds of the New Zealand book launch to the school so that the could continue. Can you imagine what I felt when I found out there was no such project, that teacher had paid for my lunch every single day of that year? You know, I went to the car with Paul and I couldn't speak. I couldn't speak because that man had looked into the eyes of an abused, confused child that nobody valued and gave her dignity. He didn't make her dependent on some scheme or some promise or behaviors. He created a job that gave her dignity, that led her to believe that she was capable of her own life, of running at things in her own speed. And he'd passed away, or Paul and I would have gone and visited him. But I can tell you something. When you're in your heart brain and you live out of it, you will always inspire people to change. One of the things our charity does now is pays for lunches for kids that cannot afford it. It was a no-brainer. But still, while that is a beautiful, beautiful part, it's still governed by what you believe. So it's contrary and it's controlled by everything that you know to be true. And who knows that we all have our own filters. And people often say to me, you know, Tracy, what was the hardest thing to overcome? Do you know, there were courses for me to go to learn how to do the things that I never learned at home, like how to behave socially, how to dress, how to apply makeup. I learned none of that. We didn't even have any personal grooming in the house. The hardest thing I ever had to overcome was the words they spoke over my life. That was the very hardest thing. And I learned a secret because at 18, I was told by a psychologist that I would need to be medicated and I wouldn't contribute to society and be dead by 30. And I can remember at that time thinking, if this man is right, I'm not waiting. I'm just going to take my life. And so I went on a 5-year journey to see what I could find out that everybody else knew, that all the women watching this knew, that all the mums and dads were doing that my parents weren't. And I discovered a lot of them. And I discovered 9 keys, and I put them in a book, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. But what I really learned was that we have a third brain, and that's our gut brain. And this is where we hold the strength and the passion and the patience to live out the life we were determined to live. And I say determined on purpose because when you came to this earth, when you began your journey, this time, the only time, whatever your belief is, there was a mandated process set for you. And I have taken a moment to actually have to come to terms with that because I was abused from 4 years of age. So when that was said to me, I struggled with it time and time again. But I realized that it was never about that moment. Nothing's ever about a moment. It's always about several moments. And I want to talk to you just as I wind up now about what the gut brain does, because I have learned to live with my gut brain and follow it every time. And when I speak to whoever I'm speaking to, because I never take for granted that any one of you would be listening, but most of all that my granddaughter is in your presence right now, hearing a lot of this for the first time. I don't take for granted that that's a moment we share in all of history. So I always lead by my gut. I always lead by the love and the belief that I have. I wrote a book, The Unhappy Smile. Most of you know about that. And what you didn't probably know was that every time I sell a book, right up until this time, and I self-published it for this one reason, is that I give a copy away. And I don't give it away from me, I give it away from you. So every time a woman bought a book, I would give away in her name a book to another woman in a refuge or in a DV home or somewhere where they couldn't afford it, but they needed to read it. And then once a month, I would make myself available for a day and I would approach all these places I've been giving the books to, and I would go and volunteer and I would sit with them and talk about my book and work through the questions and help them heal and do whatever I could. Sometimes I made coffees and just listened. Sometimes I held them as they cried. Sometimes we would argue a point in the book until we could find freedom. But it was always really different. Anyway, I ended up getting an international award in India for it. And this is where Madison comes into my story, because I flew to India and I was on a stage receiving an Exceptional Woman of Excellence Award for writing The Unhappy Smile and donating copies to women who couldn't afford it. I was really nervous because it was about 6 years ago now, and the book was fresh and it was still very cathartic in its process for me. And I was on the stage with 9 other women, and true to Tracy form, I'd met each of them because we all know each other. So I'd met each of them prior to this. So I knew their stories. And I knew that I was sitting with a woman from South Africa who was feeding 400,000 children a year through her charity. I was sitting with a beautiful Black African-American woman who does only pro bono work in the Bronx, totally lives by faith. I was sitting with another Indian woman who was the epitome of beauty, and she worked in all of the when women are mistreated or when they are hurt, they are often shunned, and so she would go to the slums and to the places where they were shunned, and she would work at helping them to come back into society by providing them with something that was valuable to society, such as a dressmaker or something like that. And I can tell you, imposter syndrome came looming. It came running at this head and heart, brain, like a freight train. And I thought to myself, because I was on the stage in an international hotel in India, I had, again, which I do from time to time, had misread the whole prestige of it. So I was sitting there in a dress I bought from Target while everybody else was in saris looking $1 million. Some of the Americans had had their hair and makeup done. I'd done my own, and I was up to speak. And I thought to myself, if I don't drop into my gut brain, I'm done. If I don't drop into being authentic, I'm done. So I looked the room, 2,500 women in the eye, and I said, I'm being honoured today for a book that I wrote. And I would like to tell you that I wrote that book for the 4.9 million women who have suffered from domestic violence or sexual abuse as children. But I wrote it for only one person, and that was my granddaughter, Madison Horton, who will never know her father. And I went on to be really honest about it and said that there was a moment, Maddie was about 8, and Layla, one of my other grandchildren, doesn't live with her biological father, but she sees him every fortnight. And Layla was getting picked up. Rachel has since married, so Layla has 2 dads. And Layla didn't want to go to her dad's house and was arguing with me about it. And when she left, Madison looked at me with those big 8-year-old eyes and said to me, Nana, how come she's got 2 dads that love her and I don't have any? And I knew that day I needed to tell her some of the stuff that only a woman who has survived it can tell her. I thanked them all for listening. I didn't do it well, and I just spoke from my heart, and my target dress totally misreading the prestige of the room. Dr. Harbeen Arora, who runs those conferences, was sitting, and she never stands. But as I turned to go back to sit in my seat, she was right behind me. And she said, I want you to turn around. And when I turned around, 2,500 women were on their feet. From that moment, I got asked to speak in 18 countries. I sold thousands and thousands of books. But what I can tell you was that thousands of women in that room, literally half the women in that room came up to me and thanked me because they went on from that day and made their story matter. So as I wind up today, my choose to challenge to you is that you just be you, and be it magnificently, and be it with no compunction. And when your head brain or your heart brain trips you up, drop into your gut brain and remember who you are and why you're here, and that you matter. Because my simple story, which is the truth, the reason I picked up the pen and wrote the book that has changed thousands of women's lives, was because I looked in the eyes of an 8-year-old granddaughter who I love more than life, and realized one day she needed to read the story of a really strong mum, a great nana, but actually a broken child, which is what's in the book. And she's on here today listening to this, probably crying, and tomorrow she gets the book. She's never seen the book or read the book. None of my grandchildren have. And I wrote in it, and she's actually going to get the very first book that came off the press. I've held this for her, and it says, Madison, Nan and Pop adore you and are always grateful to God that he gave you to us. If you don't think a moment with you can change someone's life, you really haven't met yourself. Thank you so much for listening. It was my pleasure to be part of this today. Thanks.
So powerful. Thank you so much, Tracy. And wow, you are such a blessing, I'm sure, to your daughters and your grandchildren, but I know all of the women in business that you surround yourself with, and you've got so much wisdom, so much life lessons and experiences to pass on to us, to say that, you know, despite where you came from and what happened to you, that you can recreate an amazing life, which you have with your husband and your beautiful children. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Being that shining light that the world needs.
Thank you. I will.
Okay, up next we have the gorgeous and beautiful Barbie Cawthorn. Barbie Cawthorn left the corporate world 30 years ago to pursue her understanding of energy and how it affects our own biorhythmic system. She designs signature jewelry, which you'll see here I'm wearing today, to work with one's own biorhythms with the natural gems for abundance and success. In her feng shui consultancies, she draws on her working knowledge from architecture and feng shui to bring balance and harmony to business and homes. Barbie totally believes that success is an inside job, and once balanced in the mind and body, success will manifest through all aspects of one's life. She hosts and produces her TV show, The Barbie Ann Show, airing every Sunday for over 2 years now at 7 p.m. Queensland time, and Mums in Business Australia every Monday at 4:30 p.m. You can find her on Crystal Pearl & Co. or at Carrara Markets every Saturday and Sunday. So welcome and take it away, Barbie.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you. My goodness, Tracy, what an amazing story. I've known of you, but never known the whole story, and what a pleasure to actually follow you in this amazing time. I haven't been able to listen to a lot of them because I've been involved in other things today, but I'll catch up with them later. But my subject is going to be being so proud to be a woman and to work with your own inner self, your female self, to bring success in your life. My life started out, I was a very lucky young girl. I started out in a very, very loving family. 5 brothers and 1 sister, a very strong, beautiful, loving father and a mother. But in that upbringing, the male was always very dominant, beautifully dominant, but dominant, very strong personalities. So that was the beginning of my life. And my mother was one of those who stayed home and did all the beautiful things that mothers do. When they're home, with cooking and preparing and always loving pretty things and all that sort of stuff. But in my life growing up, it was always thought, not so much that we would go into looking after the family. I did have a beautiful father who would say, you are capable, to the 2 girls, you are capable of doing anything you want. Don't let life stop you. Just take hold of everything that happens. And he used to make a little joke sometimes, and he used to say, some of you may not know because you're a lot younger than I am, but he used to say, call yourself the goofy ball. And he didn't mean that in any detriment way. What it was the Disney character, which was Goofy, and in our home we had a great big, like a life-size one that had cement on the bottom, and my dad, we used to demonstrate, if life knocks you over, and he'd just give it a little punch, and the goofy ball would go up and it would spring right back up again. And that's what he used to say, don't let life get you down, you're capable of achieving anything you want to achieve. So in my life, as I went on, I married very young, and I married a man that obviously I wasn't totally, what can I say, totally comfortable with myself to be able to be strong enough to be in any situation, because I was unfortunately in an abusive situation for 10 years. So I allowed that to happen, got out of that, that was fine. Then I had a 4-year break, and I went into another, which I also handed over all my power and also my finances. So that didn't work too well for 5 years. So there were 2 situations that I didn't actually take hold of myself, of all the strengths and all the encouragement that my father had actually given to my sister and I, saying, you are capable of doing everything that you want to do. And so, it was probably a little bit of the way the family was. Mum was home, Dad was the dominant person, even though he was happy and beautiful. So I allowed myself for those 15 years to actually not be who I was. Then I went off and studied before that architecture. So what did I do again? I went into a very male-dominated profession, didn't I? And in my day, we're talking now early 80s, there was one girl that was an interior designer. I was the only female architect in 170 architectural situations. So it was very dominant. They were very pleasant. They were very respectful. They were very charming. But, I was also the female there. I never made it to associate director. I never made it into the boardroom because women didn't do that. So then we had a little downturn in the late 80s in our economy, and so architecture stopped and the company collapsed, unfortunately. So then what do? I actually apply for another job, and I went in and got a position as national manager of the Australian Baseball Federation. So what is that again? Another male-orientated position. Now, in the positions that I did hold in architecture and in the Australian Baseball Federation, I had to be very strong. I was always dressed impeccably and all those things that go with it. But I also had to be very strong to make my voice heard in a business sense. Otherwise, in my day, they'd pat you on the head and you'd sit away and just sort of do all the work. And I was determined I was going to make a difference in both architecture and in sports management. But when you think about it, I still was still not the one that was there taking hold of all the beautiful, beautiful power that we actually have as a beautiful female. So at the age of 50, I decided I wasn't going to do that. Oh, in between time, I forgot to say, I actually met my third husband at the age of 38 it was. And he in finance and whatever, but he also had the most beautiful spiritual inside. And he wanted to follow his spiritual path. And he said, Barbie, I'd like you to come with me. Well, I've been coming with him, coming together for 36 years in that situation. But the difference between Philip and the other two, Philip was very confident in himself. He had his own profession, and he encouraged me in every way to do business, to be the feminine person that I am, and to bring that out more and more and be proud of who I am as a female. So in that time, I then decided in my 50s, as I said, that I would actually leave the corporate world and I would open up a big holistic centre in Balmain in Sydney. Now, in that, I felt that I would actually be able to bring out all those beautiful inner understandings as a female and my inner spiritual standings and live that life. Well, when you come from corporate and then you go into a big business, you still have to pay the bills, don't you? So I was a little bit too tough even in the beginning. I didn't actually trust a lot of my intuition in those days. I didn't actually totally trust my heart because I was still surrounded by different male organisations that were actually either coming to me as wholesalers or dealing with them as a real estate or landlords or whatever. And I decided, I said to Philip, we're going to sell this business and we're going to go back to the Gold Coast. And at the Gold Coast, I made that decision that I was going to live my life constantly through my feminine self and actually calling on all that beautiful feminine power from inside to actually create a successful business. Because as we all know, we have to be, we have to sort of be successful to actually bring in the finances to be able to grow wherever we want to grow. So then I made that actual decision. And as how long have I been now? I've been now at Carrara Market for 22 years. I actually totally love who I've become as a woman. I totally love it. Yes, I do have the absolute 100% backing from my beautiful man, but that's not just the part of it all. As I'm a meditator, I meditate every day, early in the mornings, how we all do it. Mine's a little bit special for me. But I actually talk to the universe and I actually say, you want me to do this work, then open up the gates and let it flow. And I will always get a signpost, which is because I've put out that thought, that intuition that's linked in with a higher power that I've been working with for over 36 years on a different level at different times to bring it back into this earth walk we do, to ground it so that I'm actually making those decisions, as Tracy said, from the gut, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? The solar plexus chakra is that gut feeling. And I say that in my workshops. I say, go by your gut. Go by your gut. If it feels good there, it gets exciting. Sure, you can get a little bit, nervous with it all, but that's encouragement to go forward. Then go. But if it feels good there, do it. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it, because you are telling yourself, with the linking in of your inner understanding of who you, with calling on a higher energy to come through you to actually operate on this earth in a very everyday situation. It's not wooey stuff. It's actually in an everyday situation. So whatever's actually happened to us, and I take that on myself, whatever has happened to us, like my upbringing in the beginning, my first husband, my second husband, and my third husband, how I have grown and actually brought out who I am as a woman, preparing myself now, because I'm now in my 70s, for my third act to even be more exciting, more powerful, more full of growth. And, don't ever, ladies, who are ever out there listening, don't ever be afraid of that word power. Don't ever be afraid of that word, I'm powerful, because you are. When you're actually true to yourself, when you're authentic, when you're full of the wisdom and knowledge and experience, as Tracy actually mentioned just before, I am the same. I've come from experience to be able to share how life has been for me, and to encourage and to actually help another person in getting over those hiccups that they may have because they're not taking on their own power. Just the feeling of that, the feeling of standing still, that feeling of, if you need to taking your shoes off and putting your feet in the sand, as I know you do now, or putting your feet on the grass. I've just moved into a beautiful, wonderful apartment that looks over the treetops. And my computer guy came yesterday and he said, you could be in the Amazon even living here, and yet I'm right in the centre of the whole of everything that goes on in life. But I'll have the pleasure, when I finished unpacking, I'll have the pleasure of actually walking through that park and taking my shoes off and walking on the grass just to centre myself. Because that is what we're all about. Never, I know I was in that era. I was in that era with the big shoulder pads, the very bright lipstick. The hair was never sort of like this. It was very, done every week at the hairdresser. But I realise now in my life, and have done for a little while, but even more so now, you can actually call on all those gifts that you acquired over the years, with all that part of who you are, to actually bring in that power, that if you have the passion enough inside your gut, your heart, to actually go forward and bring into your life what you want, it actually grows and grows without you even sometimes doing anything, because you're in unison with the universe. You're in unison with a higher power. You're in unison with all those beautiful women that you come in contact. And, the sisterhood is very much alive. As I said, I'm, what am I, goodness sake, 74 now. And I have experienced that whole beautiful sisterhood, that people have come to my aid in many ways when I hurt myself or when I'm moving or whatever, and just said, Barbie, would you like some help? Why does that happen? It happens because I come from an inner understanding. So when we're actually coming from who we truly are, not in the competitiveness, not in, oh, well, she's doing that, or I'll do that further, none of that. The more and more and more that you actually involve yourself and surround yourself with beautiful, lovely, powerful women, the more it rubs off on you, the more they will say to encourage you. There's no competition, and it just runs smoothly, so smoothly. So it's very much to say, and I say to all the young ones out there, you can be your feminine self. You can take on your beautiful feminine power. We have the absolute heightening of our intuition. We listen to it. Don't let the head get in into it. Take yourself off to a quiet place. I have a silent day every Monday. You have a beautiful shop at Carrara Market in a very busy place. I've been there 20 years, in a very public place. But I know in that place where I am at my shop, where I do design jewelry, my whole little package is designing jewelry, the crystals, so it's taking care of the energy in your personal self. And then, of course, feng shui, which I learned when I was in architecture, takes care of the balance and the balance of the environment. How beautiful is that? So you've got the two things working together. But I know in that shop, in that public place, there is a vortex of energy over my shop, because all the people, from the little weenie ones to the teenagers to the younger adults and to the older people, come because there's something that they feel that they need to actually help them through a certain situation, and they trust the energy, and I just let them choose. I learn and let them choose, but they never leave unless they know exactly why they're buying it and what it all means. But that's all coming from an level. So always be proud of that. I mean, we're so lucky as women. I mean, men are beautiful and they're lovely, but they don't sometimes men do, but sometimes they don't allow themselves just to stop and feel and own that feeling 100% and then go off and do business. There is no reason in the world that you can't become, if it's actually your thing, to actually be as successful as you possibly can by coming from that inner understanding of self. So, ladies, whoever is out there listening, take it in that you can be very proud and very successful to be the woman who you are. Thank you, Mel.
Thank you, Barbie, so much. And for anyone that's thinking it's too hard to get in front of the video camera, I've been working with Barbie for about 4 years now. And as I said, she's been doing her online show for over 2 years, consistently every week, to build her profile. But if you really want to learn about energy and how you can create success in life and business in all areas of your life, Barbie does consults all around the world over Zoom, so feel free to reach out to her and connect with her. She's got incredible wisdom and life experiences to share with us all. So thank you, Barbie. Love you so much.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you. My pleasure.
So we've got our last two speakers coming up now. And we're just going to bring Emma Wasfy onto the screen. Emma Wasfy is an entrepreneur real estate agent. Emma grew up helping her father in business since the age of 8. Emma has a great passion helping others become the best they can be, having been in business for over 3 decades. Emma believes there is an easier way to grow your business outside of your circle of family and friends without having to spend a fortune. She's the founder of World Business Builders, and she has been able to connect businesses together, helping them grow, flourish, and receive extra exposure. Her passion is seeing businesses and individuals grow from strength to strength. So take it away, Emma.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you for having me, and what great speakers we've had on today. It's been extremely inspiring. We've all definitely learned something. So I want to talk about the 7 business lessons you should learn earlier on when you start a business. So starting a business or even getting involved in any business, you need to have some foundation behind you. So it's almost impossible, and many of us can go out, and I know I was one of those, trying to be a success in my businesses on my own. And it's almost impossible to build a successful business by yourself. So even if you're a solo entrepreneur, which I have been for many years, there is always mentors, partners, vendors, peers alongside you that help you achieve your long-term vision and your short-term vision. So recognize how valuable other people are, and they will help you open up opportunities, connect you from opportunity to opportunity. So learning this lesson and accepting it earlier on, that we need others around us that are going to encourage us to get to where we need to go, is really, really important. So that's lesson 1. Lesson 2, you're probably going to fail when you start a new business. Most of us do. Failure, I don't see failure as a failure. Each failure is a stepping stone into a bigger success. I have seen it happen in my own life and in the lives of those around me and the lives of those that I've mentored in business. So no matter how much you know or how much you prepare, failure is going to be inevitable whenever we start business in some areas. Your business may become successful overall, but there will be individual strategies and campaigns that may crash and burn, and it all becomes a learning phase as we grow and as we evolve. And each failure, I believe, is a stepping stone into a bigger and much greater success. So always look at failure as an opportunity for something new and better to come up. Never give up. So number 3, time for the most valuable resources. So time is money, and we need to work with our time very effectively. I believe in waking up really early, getting organized early, and starting my day really, really early in the morning. Keeping an exercise routine, eating healthy. All of those things will always help you, and it's really, really important, as time is money. So we need to stop sitting on the phone for hours talking about things that are unnecessary, and realize that every minute equals money and an opportunity to advance in our business. So it's up to you how many hours a day you work, and of course in business you get back what you put in. If you are there and you're putting in 100%, you're putting in the hours, success will definitely come back to you. Okay, number 4, I'm a big one for communication. So communication can prevent or fix almost any problem. So the power of communication can't be underestimated. Communicating will solve just about every problem. So by explaining things clearly, setting firm expectations, and communicating well can help you resolve any problem, whether it's making an apology, coming up with a mutually agreeable solution, or explaining circumstances. So communication is really, really a must in having a successful business, and that's communicating with, you know, those around you, with business associates, with your suppliers, with whoever. Making communication very, very clear and working on any issues or any problems that come up can help you advance in your business a lot quicker and ease a lot of problems that don't need to be there. So perfection is the enemy of progress. Because of the fast-paced business environment we live in, waiting to move forward with a new initiative because it's not quite a perfect time can mean the failure of that initiative. Flexible, adaptive businesses that demonstrate an understanding that things can be tested and optimized while they're already producing a return on investment, or are the ones that succeed. So A lot of us have this enemy of perfection. I was definitely one of them, and sometimes I struggle with it now. So we need to let go of perfectionism and work with what we have today to step forward in our business, because there will never be a perfect time. It's like a smoker saying, when it's a perfect time, I'm going to give up cigarettes. There is never, ever a perfect time. The perfect time is now, the power of today and the power of now, and not wait for everything to be perfect to step forward. So that's been a huge lesson in my life, and a lesson that I pass on to others. So today is the only day to make our success a step forward. So all ideas must be rooted in particularity. So no matter how good or original or appealing your idea is, it's only as valuable as it is practical. So, for example, if you have a vision for an amazing video, but you don't have the resources to produce it in an effective way, you have to drop the idea. So the same can be said of any business idea. You may have a new concept for an enterprise, but if there's no way to make it feasible or profitable, you won't be able to move to any form of execution. And sometimes the best ideas have to be tabled due to the lack of practicality. And the lucky last one is number 7, is there is always more you can be doing to keep learning. While we are living, I believe that while we are here on earth and we are breathing, there is always something to learn. We can never say that we've done it all or we've learned it all, because that is impossible in this life. So no matter how much you know and no matter how much you think you know, there's always more information to learn. There are always more leaders that can lead you to a better place. There's always better entrepreneurs, and there will always be new skills and abilities to acquire. Maintaining a course of constant improvement will keep you at your best for as long as possible. Continue to grow spiritually, continue to learn business lessons and learn from other businesses that have perhaps been in business a lot longer than you. Continue to make your environment a continuous education. The more we learn, the more success we can bring in our own lives. And so I believe that we can never stop learning on this earth. So as long as we continue to breathe, there is always somebody that can take us to that next level in our business. So there's always a difference between reading about a lesson in an online article and actually experiencing them firsthand. So learning and then putting it into experience. So prepare to do your best learning as you go through any business challenges, because those challenges are just preparing you for bigger and greater successes in your business and in your life and in your relationships. So so let's remember all those 7 points, and I wish everybody great success in their business. And thank you so much, Melissa, for allowing me to be a guest speaker today. It's been such a privilege to be on there here today. So thank you so much, and continue being amazing.
I love that you just stepped up to the plate, Emma, and I told you you're being a speaker. You've signed up to be a client with me, and there's no time for preparation. It's just throw it in the deep end and just share your knowledge and wisdom, because that's what it's all about. And
give me a bit longer than 4 minutes notice next time, Melissa.
You're beautiful. You did so well. Love that sunset there behind you too. It's good to have you up here in the Gold Coast.
Absolutely, and loving it.
Thank you, beautiful.
Thank you.
Now we
Oh,
have our final
wow.
speaker for today. And I'm very excited to introduce to you the beautiful Oksana Samkova. Oksana is a registered nurse, a speaker, and a thought leader on vicarious trauma. She is a co-author of the International Speakers Tribe book, Undefeated. Oksana Samkova is a thought leader on vicarious trauma and compassionate fatigue. She has found the key to work-life balance for frontliners and others who have experienced trauma within their lives. Oksana trained as a nurse in the Ukraine, has worked around the world and lived in Mongolia, England, and Africa. She has 2 beautiful sons and moved to Australia 5 years ago to live her dream. As an international frontline worker, Oksana found herself burnt out from the job that she loved and paid the price of undiagnosed vicarious trauma. Her passion is to help frontline workers and other carers to recognise early the effects of high level of repetitive stress and create a healthy work-life balance. With her 7 practical strategies, she can help you to reshape your life and combat the effects of compassionate fatigue and vicarious trauma. Take it away, Oksana.
Thank you, Mel, for such a beautiful introduction. Oh my God, I'm so happy to be within such beautiful, beautiful ladies today. I've been listening to most of you all day through, and I'm so delighted. And as I'm the last speaker, I want to just acknowledge every single one of you, not only who spoke today, but also who listened to us, because we are beautiful, beautiful women, and we're not alone. And I would like to say is that although I'm a nurse, but I'm also a mom, I'm also a daughter, I'm also a friend. And I would like to talk today a little bit about compassion, self-compassion, and love, self-love. I know we as women, as daughters, as wives, as sisters, we always, since little age, we're always out there helping someone. Do you feel like you're that friend who always, on the end of the phone when someone had crisis, or you're looking after your little kids and you got maybe elder parents and you're going through all the difficulties in life and you're that one who always running out for help. But what happened when being overwhelmed by helping others become too much? We become emotionally, physically, and mentally exhausted. And we don't have any space left for ourselves. And as you all know, we're not machines and we cannot run on empty. Me being a nurse for over 25 years and working with all these people and experiencing all the trauma, I've experienced all this and I know how it feels. I've been not once, not twice in these situations. And when it came to the point where I could not enjoy my life as a nurse anymore because I simply collapsed at work. And then I've realized that there's something wrong going with me. I ignore all the messages my body was giving me, my sleepless nights, the worries, being depressed, being struggling with my health. I've ignored all of that because I'm a nurse. I could do it all. And I'm super mom, of course, and I cannot be weak. Don't we all feel like that sometimes? But being a superwoman, it's also giving yourself love and saving yourself. So through all of that, my experience, I had to go through and look what wasn't working for me and what can be done to help me save myself and still enjoy and being a nurse, what I used to love, what I love doing. So I've gone through the research and I've started looking into things. And I came across this interesting article in the magazine, Nursing Magazine, which was explaining compassion fatigue and vicarious trauma, being affected by helping others. You accumulate all this stress and it's all coming on top of another. And at the end, you're just running on empty. And I've realized that I was suffering with it for a long, long time. It cost me health. It cost me marriage. It cost me financial crisis. But I knew I had to do something about it. There's lots of stories I could tell you, about stories about my medical career, some other things, but I would like to share something with you which recently happened to me about 2 months ago. I'm a diver, and I used to dive quite a lot years ago. And recently, I've just reinvented myself into advanced diving course, and I went with a group of divers for a night dive, which I never done before. And you know, when you normally feel to your gut feeling, and your gut feeling tells you what's right for you or not, and sometimes you listen to it, sometimes you don't. So I remember that night, I looked at the weather and I really didn't like it. And I thought, that's horrible, absolutely horrendous. And the wind is strong, the ocean is horrible, the waves are crashing. And I'm thinking, no way I want to do diving in this weather. But you know what? I went with it. I didn't listen to my inner voice. So I turned up to the beach, geared up for my diving gear, and went with the group. I remember walking to the jetty. And the wind is so strong, it's literally pushing me across. And I'm thinking, oh my, I really don't like that. But anyway, what happened? One after another, everyone jumped from the jetty into the ocean. And I was standing there looking in that horrible water churning against underneath me. And I'm looking at it and thinking, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. But be brave, go for it. So I've stepped off the jetty, I jumped in, and everyone is going down to descend under the water. And suddenly I realized I cannot descend. I'm in this churning white water, and this water is just plucking me and pushing me away and just pulling me somewhere with a current. So it's like creating this strong pull, and it's by this point it's dark. And I realized I'm getting pushed quite far. So no one's around. And the weather is horrible. It's normally the fisherman there, someone's on the beach, there's no one there. And everyone underneath the water, and I'm on top. I really start panicking. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm just getting pulled away. I don't know where I'm going. This is the open ocean. I'm getting pulled away. I'm hyperventilating. My lungs are filling up with air. I'm trying to get down under the water to get down back with my team, but I just can't. I've got this mouthpiece in my mouth with the air and the balloon tank on my back, and I'm breathing, and I'm just going, just breathe, just breathe. And I remember that it's so dark and it's scary, and I'm trying to fight again. I'm trying to go down. I'm trying to break away from this current. I'm trying to go to the shore. I can't. I'm trying to go down in the water. I can't. And what I realized, the only way to be alive, it was for me to surrender. So I had to surrender to this current and trust every single thing you believe in life, God, universe, higher selves, angels, whoever was up there. I was praying and saying, please I have to trust that I will be safe. And what I also had in that situation, I had my torch. And that torch was supposed to be for my night dive underneath the water. And that little torch, I was shining it frantically for 3 hours. I didn't know who was looking, who was finding me or how I'm going to be found. I didn't know. But I knew I had to shine that torch because that was the only way I will be saved. So I remember struggling for about 3 hours in the water, and it was dark and horrible and scary. And I was holding this torch, shining it. And when I saw a boat which came to my rescue, I was so happy and I was relieved. And I didn't let that torch go for 1 second. It was eye-opening experience for me. And what it made me realize that we're going through lots and lots in our life. And sometimes we feel like we're sinking. We're sinking in the sea of life, in the ocean of life. and we're trying all the things we know, and and it's not working. We're fighting against it. And of course, me being a nurse and working with trauma patients, I've developed my own strategies, which are called Reshape Your Life. And I've realized that being in that trauma myself, I could use those strategies to help me to save myself. But that torch for me, it meant something else. That torch represented that inner light within you, that your purpose, that when you call for help, you're not alone. You have to shine that torch to be helped. And sometimes surrendering feels like a defeat, but by surrendering, you're trusting the universe and knowing that you'll be safe. So I would like to tell you a little bit about my reshape process, which contain with first step is recognize. So you have to recognize what is not working for you in your life. Are you sinking? Are you floating? Or you would like to swim? Evaluate and look around. Are you living the life you would love to live? Are you the best version of yourself, or something stopping you? Are you still having a joy? So the third step is strategies. You have to develop strategies. If you're not happy or what's going on in your life, you have to find how to do it. What can change it? And there's lots of strategies, of course. And if you need to know more, you can always contact me and I'll go through with you what can be done for you. H is for help. Remember that torch? I was shining for 3 hours. Ignite that light and ask for help. You're never alone there. There's so many of us and we're here to help. Find your sisters, find your tribe, find people surrounding you. The other step is to, after help, it comes with purpose. You have to find your purpose. You have to think, why? Why do you want to change? For me, being in that ocean, my purpose was to stay alive, for my children, for my friends, for my family. That was keeping me going. And my last step is engage. Engage with everyone around you. Ask for help. Shine that torch. Shine that inner light. And it may get you out of a crisis, or it might even save your life. So shine your light and you will be helped. So thank you very much, everybody. I hope that you find your inner light and you will shine every day. And please find me on any social media, Oksana Samkova, on Facebook, LinkedIn. I also got a website and I will be happy to chat to you and see how we can help you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Oksana. Oh, how scary for you, but thank you. Thank God that
thank you, Melissa.
That you were held here on this earth because you've got more important work to do. And I just can't imagine surrendering in the ocean and just trusting that if you're meant to live, you'll live. And if you can do that and surrender in that, then you can surrender in anything. And so, wow, incredible story. But wow, and that wasn't your story that you used to share. It used to be about your compassion fatigue and recognizing those signs that can cause ill health. But now you've got an even important message to share. And I love that, shining your light bright, because that's what I'm all about as well too. So
that's right, Mel. You always shine bright. I love your message.
Thank you, beautiful. Thank you for joining us.
Much. Thank you for having me.
You. You're welcome. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today on the International Women Global Summit, Women Rising. Thank you so much to Aldwyn Altony, our MC this morning, who helped us to start up the live stream, do all the technical things, and her VA, Katrine, behind the scenes, bringing all of our speakers in to do the sound and lighting check. There's a lot of things that go into putting an event like this together. And a big thank you to all of the women who were brave enough to step up and to speak up and to share their truth and their message with the world. So I just want to honour you and remind you that I will continue to forge positive visibility of women. And this is what I do. And the reason why I do what I do is my other choose to challenge. I will help forge women's equality by speaking my truth and be a shining light for you to be all that you can be. So thank you, everyone. Please share this live stream, because I know that there's so many important messages in here that just may change someone's life. And remember to go out there and shine bright, because the world needs you. Lots of love. Bye, everyone. Good night.